Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy David at the Irish Hotspur, Ireland's #1 Spurs fan. And this evening, we bring you the Tottenham Hotspur fan phone-in show. And it's been a good evening, by the way. You know, it's been a good weekend. Bar Arsenal, Chelsea losing yesterday, West Ham losing yesterday, Liverpool dropping yet more points. And that's why I keep saying to people, even though we may not be playing the best the last couple of games, that's why it's still important to get out of there with a result. The fact that we're not playing well, we're getting out of their result, and our rivals are all dropping points, it's an absolute huge plus. Second of all, I hope you guys out there enjoying all of the content me and Jack have put out there for you today. Of course, to start with Jack's morning thoughts on the Lucas Moura situation. We will be putting one out every single morning at 9 a.m. for you early risers, so make sure you set your alarm and hit that notification bell. As well, every single evening, I'll be giving you the evening headlines, and we'll be doing a live show in the evening, and we've lots more things coming your way this week, so make sure you stay tuned. Jack, how are you keeping, brother?
Dave, like you summarized, so many things that happened this weekend, for us Spurs fans, despite, maybe the scum getting out there, even though, they got that result, Dave, they pretty much, again, in kind of scum fashion, acted like, they won the Champions League final, see Ramsdale nearly going to tears, in an interview after beating Bournemouth, acting like, he practically beat Man City. So we still got some sort of solace out of it, let's be honest, a few laughs, laughing at them. But it's been an excellent weekend, Dave. It's good to be back. Good to see the Harris Army, and probably the best way to see this Harris Army, Dave, is to be able to speak with them, in this fan show format. So I'm looking forward to it.
No, 100%. And guys, what we want to get to the bottom of, should we be buzzing that we just got over the line and got the result no matter what? Or is there things to be concerned about going forward? So guys, make sure you do get on and have your say. You want to have your say, the link is up in the community section for all channel members. So guys, make sure if you're a member, you get on it and come on and have your say. And with the amount of memberships lately, guys, we might not have time to put it out to the general public after. We'll see how we get on. But everybody, make sure if you are a member, do come on and have your say. And it is over. Man United have beat Liverpool 2-1. So that leaves us now 5 points ahead of Liverpool already after 3 games. And hopefully results go our way this weekend again, and we can put another victory on the board against Nottingham Forest on Sunday. As well, guys, don't be afraid if you want to talk transfers or anything like that. We've been linked with a lot of players. If you watch the evening headlines, you see exactly what today's news is. And don't be afraid to come on and have your say on them things either. Ryan Trestane, my man, of course you can come on, lad. The link is up in the community section. Simply just click on it. It'll bring you in, and come on and have your say, my man. Big up Rufus Roughcut. Big up Theo Isaac. Big up Mick Carmalock. Big up. Can you smell what the calf is brewing? Big up Benji. Big up Jetro Zulu. Big up my man. Who else have we got? Chris. Good to see you in the building, my man. Mick Carmalock says, evening all. For me, Malinowski fits the bill. Not a huge financial gamble. He himself will have no expectation to start. He can maybe bang in a few off the bench. Also, a set piece threat.
Smart take from King Hoddle. Yeah.
I agree to some extent, but I disagree to another extent. Because for me, if you can get MilinkovicSavage out of Lazio, surely you go and get him with the idea that he just walks straight into your midfield rather than taking a cheaper option and, where he may or may not actually improve that midfield. That's where I'm at. For me, if you can, we've definitely got enough room left. With all the players we're looking to get out, we definitely have enough room left to make a statement signing.
Probably true, at least in the bank. You're absolutely right, Dave. I can't, deny you there. The one part I would kind of, agree with King Hoddle here, though, just to challenge you, is that if you did buy, the beautiful, the almighty Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, respect his name, people. But if you were to bring him in, Dave, do you kind of have to change, Conte's whole 3-4-3? Do you have to sort of switch gears to something different? I know he probably could play in that pivot. I feel like Sergei's, good enough for that. I mean, he has 2 itches in his name, so I'm pretty sure he should be good enough for it. But as well, he's more of that number 10 that you sort of would want to play in kind of that 3-5-2, in some variation. And I feel like you would have to abandon that 3-4-3, which could mean maybe less playing time for the likes of, our beautiful Kulusevski. So it is kind of an interesting one. While Sergey is practically world class, you do maybe have to change, your whole system if you brought him in. Whereas maybe Malinovsky, not so much.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I also think Milinkovic-Savage can play deeper as well, Jack. I mean,
No,
he's
he is
definitely
that
got
good.
enough about him to be able to sit there in the engine room, and dictate play from back there. Look, that's just my opinion, but look,
He is
Jack,
that good.
the fact
Yeah.
that we don't agree, just shows we can see through things through different lenses and still, get on at the end of the day, which is brilliant.
I'd
But
love to
King
agree with King
already,
Hoddle as well. He's behind the Save Emerson movement. So I'm definitely, going to agree with King Hoddle here. Big up, my man. Good to see you in the chat.
King Hoddle already stirring the pot. Big up, my man. Good to see you. Batter THFC. Good to see you. Pierre Oji says, big up, everyone. At the end of the day, we need a centre back. One that is good in the air. Please come on. Look, I'm not even going to get started on it today. I'm actually not even. Today is just about the guest. If you want to come on and you disagree with what I say, usually fine. I'm not even going to challenge you. I'm just going to keep stump. And in fact, tomorrow when we do our live stream, by the way, that'll be at 7 p.m. That's with Sim from We Are Tottenham TV. Sean, myself, and Jack. Should be an absolute cracker. When we do that, even if Jack asks me maybe about the defence, I'm just going to sit there with duct tape over my mouth because apparently you're not allowed to speak on it. But big up, Pierre.
Love you.
Dark Zone G21 says, laughing my ass off, Liverpool losing 2-0 to Man United at the moment. I know Liverpool has a lot of injuries, but seriously, it's a broken down United. First Blues, then West Ham, now Liverpool dropping points. Great week for us. Important 4 points gained. Look, what I will say just quickly, and I'll let Jack in on this as well, Dark Zone G, is look, Liverpool were just way off it today. Their passes were all in behind their players. Usually they're in front of them, forward momentum. They're missing that other idiot that headbutted Joaquin Anderson last week. They're huge out of the forward line. That little young lad in there today, the blondie hair, curly little runaround. He's just not cut out yet for that level. Their midfield injuries were massive. They could not get control. You look at that back line, it was exposed so badly, but also going forward, they could not get a grip all game long. Injury. Liverpool have 9 players out injured at the minute, senior players. I mean, that's almost half a squad. That is a hell of a lot. And in key positions on the football pitch. Centre midfield is a key position. Centre back, key position. Forward area is a very key position right throughout the spine of their team. So, look, with Liverpool, don't get me wrong, I'm absolutely delighted because this is one of the clubs we were potentially supposed to be closing points on. Now, I seen a stat yesterday as well, Man City, Liverpool, Brentford and all, the amount of goals they score from set pieces. Now, bringing in, what's his name? Gio. What's his name? I was only speaking about him today, Jack. Kind of the set piece coach we brought in.
Giovanni. I'm forgetting.
DeVio, or something like that. But anyway, the set piece coach we brought in, he is already, you've seen the rewards against Chelsea, against Wolves at the weekend, 4 points. Hopefully we take more from a set pieces. Hopefully we can keep a few more clean sheets and we will end up closing that 22-point gap between Tottenham and City. But the fact that we were supposed to try and close on Liverpool and we're sitting there 5 points ahead, or was it 4 or 5 points ahead already now? I mean, it's a huge plus. And all we got to do now is just keep winning games to maintain it. I mean, Jack, what would you say to Dark Sun G?
I mean, I know the injuries are, a big excuse probably for Liverpool, Dark Sun G. But as he said here, it is a broken down United. It was defeated United. I feel like probably they were a bit surprised, Dark Sun G, by, the effort that they put in. There's probably that expectation that Liverpool could kind of just walk over there, kind of roll them over, take the easy train back home, to Liverpool and, be kind of happy about it. But I don't really think it, went that way. And they kind of probably surprised, Liverpool with the amount of effort and the amount of desire that they were showing. Still doesn't mean, I think, they're a great, football team of any kind, Man United. I still think if they were to come up, against Brentford again, even with that sort of effort, I probably feel like Brentford would still give them, a good game and perhaps, expose, some elements, of their weaknesses. Just feels like maybe Liverpool are sort of in, I don't know if it's exactly a crisis, like Man United, Dark Sun G, but something, of a similar ilk where it feels like a lot of things are maybe wrong behind the scenes there. Perhaps maybe there's some, sort of kind of, feuds or cliques or something that's, developing, having Karen Klopp, complaining every day. I don't really think sets a good example, for the rest of the team. Dark Sun G, as good as he is a tactician, probably, kind of crying and, complaining too much. He needs to be more of a leader, I feel like, for that team. Hence why you then see, them kind of bickering, amongst each other. It's kind of just all stems, from the top with Jurgen. So I don't know what you think of that, Dark Sun G, but perhaps, maybe Jurgen being more of a Karen these days is kind of, bleeding into the rest of the team and kind of making them, be a bit, kind of a, I don't know, Dave, how would you put it? Kind of, toys out the pram kind of situation.
Yeah. No, I agree. 100%. And Dark Sung G, I hope your old lad's okay. Hopefully he's not sitting there in tears or in turmoil, although it would be nice to see Liverpool fans cry once in a while. I can't forget what they've done to us in the Champions League final. Big up, Dark Sung G. Batter THFC says agreement reached between THFC and Valencia over a loan deal for Bryan Hill. Yeah, look, what I will say, you want to hear my thoughts on it, check out the evening headlines. You want to hear Jack's thoughts on it tomorrow, just check out his show that he's putting out at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. tomorrow, my man.
Big yourself up. Dark Zone G also says City dropping points to Newcastle was great to watch. I'm not going to lie, I got scared. When City got the 2 goals very, very quickly, I was like, same old. Look, they had other chances to go and win the game, but what I will say is St. Maximum absolutely ran that City team ragged. Absolutely ran it ragged. And fair play to Newcastle. I mean, they dug in there and they ended up seeing out the game. And look, ultimately, you probably would look at it, maybe say 2 points drop, but I don't think anyone was expecting Newcastle to get into from the game anyway. So I'd more look at it as a point game than the fact that they drop points. If we can keep winning until we play them September 10th, we've got, Nottingham Forest, West Ham, Fulham, and then Man City. So we've got 3 very winnable games before Man City. Win them, you go into Man City. We all know it's a rule, and it might be a bit different this year because last year when we did play Man City, they were putting balls in the box but didn't have anybody to get on the end of them. This year they've got Haaland, so we probably might have to come up with a bit more defensively, a bit of a better plan defensively, in my opinion, because you can't just show them out wide, put balls in the box because they have Haaland there. So it might be a bit of a different game, but at the end of the day, if we can win them games going into that City game and we can even get out of there with a point or a win, we are right in the mix.
Absolutely, Dave. I couldn't say it better myself. Big up, Dark Sun G. And, looking forward to more of the leaders dropping points, my man. Adrian Chia saying, big up, lads. Form matters and chalking points matters as well. Or getting points like this matters more. Absolutely, Adrian. And, it's nice to see, kind of the sort of favorites, you could say, for, the title kind of slipping up in such a way. I feel like you probably still put your money on Man City, but it is kind of interesting to see the likes of Liverpool, someone, who still, a lot of people probably put as, kind of a favorite still for the title, or at least, kind of being close to Man City, and seeing them kind of, at least, start, pretty poor, from the gates, and seeing Spurs, kind of, bounce, out the gates pretty well. And like we want to emphasize probably a lot tonight is that, 7 points, that we actually, I think, before, only had 0 points of those 3 fixtures, and we were able to grab 7 this time, which just shows that Spurs are a different deal. Big up.
Shows a winning mentality. Shows a winning mentality. Big up, Adrian. Just welcome a few more people in. Big up, Lightwork. Good to see you in the building, my man. Big up, Ellie. Great to see you in the building. Hopefully, we'll be seeing you on the show as well. Big up, Tapewa. Big up, Derek Hutchison. Good to see you in the building, my man. Great to see you. We've also got Zoe in the house. Big up, Zoe. Good to see you. Cara Coy's eating all. Big up, Cara. Great to see you in the house. Young Putty. Brad Matthews. Chris Agenbar. William McKenzie, it's great to see you, my man. I hope things are keeping well for you. New Zealand, if I remember correctly.
Legend.
William. Cockeye TV, Golden Cockerel, good to see you in as well. He says, who's this Jack fellow? What happened to Nick? Good to see you back. Big up to each and every one of you reading this. Big up, my man. Good to see Mark in the house. Big up, Israel. Israel Uncovered, my man. Good to see you in the house. THFC till I die. Who has so many? Alex Apostolou, great to see you. Johnny Stokes, good to see you, brother. I hope you are keeping well. Nick says, looking a bit pink around the face, Jacko. Did you see the SPF 50 at home?
Used the SPF 30 this time, Nick, which maybe was probably a mistake. I also kind of went for the Kiehl's, which is, maybe a bit better for, kind of the skin, cells, but maybe not as good, for actually, repelling, the actual sun. I kind of probably pulled a Harry Kane here, kind of pulled, an England national team. I saw a lot of those England national teams, very pink, over that World Cup season. So, probably, yeah, a bit tomato faced, I must say, Nick, but, we'll recover. We'll recover.
Big up, Nick. A great job filling in while Jacko was away, by the way, my man. Big yourself up. People really enjoyed having you on. Big up Carl Higgins, Craig Bowler, Dunkelstork. Absolutely, that name never gets old. Foggy Phone, great name as well. Great to see you. Adrian Schrocka, Old Soul. Good to see everybody. It's good to welcome you all in. I love doing this. Jammy Gate, great to see you, my man. Who else have we got? Paul Western, great to see you in the building. Maja Matsi, good to see you, my man. Dark Sun G says, I saw an article that Tuchel blamed the plane for the Leeds loss, laughing my ass off. Something about plane cancelled, so they had to take the bus. Koulibaly and Nunes red cards. I love it. Big money spent for these players. I mean, honestly, Dark Sun G, yeah. Boo-hoo, they had to travel in a bus and it wasn't the comfort of first-class airplane. I mean, honestly, how pampered do you have to be? Seriously, it's an absolute joke. If you can't perform because you have to take a bus ride, even though every Sunday league team, every youth team up and down the country, some of them are even lucky to get a bus. Some of them are traveling in parents' cars and everything else. And these guys are crying because they can't get on an airplane to make the journey shorter. Honestly, give me a break.
Ride. No, 20-minute airplane ride as well. I mean, I don't even get it, Dave. And you can't even, serve a drink, in time, with that sort of airplane ride. You're already taking off, before you're landing. And, also as well, I feel like, Tuchel showed a bit of class, Dark Sun G, after our game, against Chelsea. I thought his interview was pretty, funny. He kind of showed how tough he was. And, it's kind of, at least, respectful of Tuchel. I thought, it was kind of interesting to see him get into that sort of spat and not be, as much of a Karen, like Jurgen is. But now after, seeing him complain like this and not really give Jesse Marsch any sort of credit whatsoever, I feel like I would kind of take back that sort of respect I had for Tuchel, and kind of distinguishing him, from a guy like Jurgen Klopp. I feel like he's, behaving a bit like Jurgen would, which, I'm a bit ashamed.
It is very Karen Klopp-esque.
Especially for a Spurs fan, Dave. You don't want to see a Spurs fan like Tuchel, kind of complaining like that. Spurs fans are usually better than that.
Conte would never complain about that. Conte would be there. Conte would be whipping out the Monopoly. Someone would be down in the back of the corner gambling and stuff like that. He'd get it really old school and make sure they enjoy it. Conte would never, ever complain about that. Big up, Dark Sun G, my man. Good to see you in the building. Let's welcome a few more in and then let's crack on and let's start cracking into these guests. Stevie Fraser, big yourself up. Welcome to Planet Dirt. John Nellis, big yourself up. Lynchy 616. The Smasher, Neil Shafton, Shamu Van Spurs, good to see you. Hollywood Hotspur, great to see you, my man. Paul Mansbridge, good to see you. Ellie with the super sticker, Jacko.
Yes, and it's a piece of cake, Dave. And, she says, here's the cake, the super sticker is because THFC Till I Die, we've reached a milestone as we celebrate a year's anniversary tomorrow. Big up. THFC Till I Die. And honestly, it's been, well handled, I think, by Dermot. And I think, he's made, a lot of improvements to the channel, over the years. And, I think they're kind of flying right now, especially with the addition of Ellie, as we know, Dave. And, they're just, celebrating with a bit of cake, as she said.
No, absolutely love it. Hopefully Dermot gets down and gets the party poppers out, the party hats, and really, really go for it. At the end of the day, every little milestone is a milestone further to where you want to be. So, make sure you do embrace in it, but then get straight back to work the following day. Big yourself up, Ellie. A big up THFC Till I Die. Of course, Philip Brady also adding a lot over there as well. And big up John Fitzpatrick. Good to see you. But look, guys, we will crack onto it. We will start getting on the guest. And the first guest, let's get him on. It's the one and only. It's the Godfather, Mr. Philip Brady. How you keeping, my man?
Oh, how could you be anyway? How could you be anyone but elated after the way those results have gone for us?
Good weekend for Tottenham fans.
Great weekend. And I'll tell you one thing. It really gives me a great deal of hope to see the big games the big teams, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Manchester City defenses. Every one of their defenses were in shreds this weekend. They were absolutely pathetic defensively. Yeah. And I know that Liverpool had injuries and whatever, but my God, I don't think I've ever seen a Liverpool team play as badly as they did tonight. And Chelsea yesterday, never, notwithstanding the fact that they couldn't fly up, tough. And Man
Jack was
City,
ready to declare,
Real tragedy.
Jack was
Philip,
ready to declare a national holiday on Chelsea yesterday, weren't you, Jack?
Yeah, Philip, I was going to say, the Americans, nearly all took, all 350 million, almost took the day off, in celebration after seeing, us dismantle Chelsea. And I was saying to Dave, maybe even 100 years, the Yanks will probably tell a story that it was only 3 people on the pitch that single-handedly took down, Chelsea. I'm looking forward to it, but a good day for the Americans, a good day for the Yanks.
A great day, a great weekend for Spurs, really. I mean, who'd have thought we'd be 5 points ahead of Liverpool after 3 games?
Yeah.
It's really, it's great. Okay, it's early days. I mean, I've no doubt Liverpool will regroup. I hope United don't. They could take a lot of pride from that performance tonight, but I don't think they'll be as pumped up playing anybody else. I mean, as the commentator said tonight, they were playing for their lives tonight.
It's very much a bit like Chelsea, against us. Either side of us, they've been absolutely woeful. But against us, it was the best they've been in 2022. But look, Philip, we've had a couple of days maybe to settle down from the game. A lot of immediate reaction after the game. Some people like myself, we were like, look, at the end of the day, didn't play great, but we got out of there with a result, and that's all that matters. It's 3 points on the board at the end of the day. But then, other people are saying, look, there's concerns from that game, which I also fall in that camp a little bit. So, I mean, what's your thoughts after the game? Should we be happy with that on the board, or is there cause for concern?
There is cause for concerns, not specific. I just actually picked out a very interesting piece today from the Daily Telegraph in England, and I'll just read this to you. It's talking about the Spurs defence, right? It says here, in Wolves, it's talking about Wolves in first. In part, that was due to their continued lack of forward thrust, but it was also to do with Spurs' defensive solidity. What Conte has done is make his side extremely hard to score against. Out of possession, they effectively put up a 7-man barrier. Hugo Lloris, 121st clean sheet for the club, and there'll be many more. And the way Eric Dyer and his colleagues protect his goal, there'll be plenty more to come. Now, that might fly in the face of what we were thinking after the game, because some of the defenders were coming in for a lot of criticism. Now, to be honest with you, I take everybody's point about Sanchez and Dyer and whatever, but I think at this stage, that game's gone. Let's move on, and let's move on to hopefully getting into a situation next Sunday when Romero is back for Sanchez, so we won't have the same discussion again. Because I think, in all fairness to them, Hugo Lloris had very, very little to do in that match. Wolves might have looked very bright and everything, but they created very little, offensive-wise.
What I will say, Philip, Wolves are not a team notorious for scoring goals either, though. When you look over the seasons that they've been up in the Premier League, they've averaged 1 goal probably per game across the season, so they're not known for their goals. But what I will say is I take that article and I do think they're right. Like I was saying this after the game, I do think our formation is set up the way we play to protect that back line, especially out of possession. The reason why we don't press and the reason why we sit in shape is because we can't press like Liverpool or City do, because we don't have a back three that we can trust or that can be left exposed on the counter-attack and won't get shredded apart. So I agree with the article in that regard, but is it cause for concern that if we come up against better teams who do pose a threat, that we can't let them have the amount of shots that we did let Wolves have in and around the outside the area?
Yeah, I agree, but I think I'm also hoping that come the 31st of August, we will have a new centre back in, which I'm still convinced we will do, and that means we'll have a back three of Romero, Longley, and another, which I think should be good enough to keep most teams at bay, if not all of them, and allow the midfielders to go higher.
Let me ask you this: would you be happy with a back line of Romero, Dyer, and Langley? If Dyer had 2 ball-playing defenders either side of him that he could pass to, and they could be the one to make the more advanced pass. Because, look, I'm not even going to shit on Sanchez today, but he did kick the ball back to Wolves a number of times. Davies, his first instinct is always to pass back to Dyer to look for him to take the responsibility. Do you think we'd look much better defensively if Dyer was the guy, one touch out to one of the other defenders either side of him and let them take the responsibility?
I'd rather see someone like Bastoni coming in. I'd like Eric Dyer to be there in the squad. And if we don't sign anybody by September, then yeah, that's probably the way we're going to have to play it. If he had 2 ball-playing guys that can take the strain off him, let's hope it doesn't come to that. But we'll get away with it against most teams. We'll not get away with it against a revived City, Liverpool, Chelsea, United. I don't think, So that's why I think it's very important that Paratici now gets back on the phone again and tries to because we're getting short time now. We've got 9 days left,
Yeah.
And I hear a lot of talk about this Milinkovic'Savage guy coming. Have we ever actually been physically linked with him, or is that just the chat rooms talking about him?
Well, it was where it comes from, right? It was an article that was put out 6-7 days ago. And then since that article, Sarri, which is Lazio's manager, they have apparent interest in Sergio Reguilon. So that, I think the fact that we maybe were looking at Milinkovic-Savic and they're looking for Reguilon, is there a chance we can do a swap plus cash deal? It's a big ask. I doubt they will want to let go of Milinkovic-Savic anyway. But I'm not sure how true it is. But if they do have interest in Reguilon, I would say we probably do have a bit of interest in Milinkovic-Savic. You'd be stupid not to. Most clubs around Europe do.
Oh, sure, yeah. But it's a bit tenuous, though, really, isn't it? It's really grasping at straws that we're going to get him. I mean, he's the sort of player I can see going to City or Liverpool. To be honest with you, like the other guy, the what's he called? The guy in Roma, he's broken his shoulder, hasn't he? Zamiola, whatever you call him.
Of course, he has. Now he's broken.
Malinowski's better than him anyway.
Malinowski, I'd take, Malinowski, but again, take him after we get a centre back. I think we'd all be pretty much disgusted now if we bought Malinowski and didn't get a centre back by the end of the window.
Yeah,
so we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But I've no doubt that the Paratici is now working 24 hours a day instead of 20 to try and get this thing through.
Yeah,
because we know Conte knows we need strengthening at the back. That back 5 or back 3 that we have at the minute is not going to challenge for the title.
Yeah. Philip, going into Forest, here, do you feel like the fact that we are playing now an away game, and Chelsea certainly was going to be a tough atmosphere, and I think, we handled ourselves accordingly, but, Forest are maybe riding a bit of momentum, after beating Fat Frank, or, at least deserving, kind of the win against Fat Frank, you would say. And then also kind of, I think riding, probably that momentum that they probably are going to survive by the looks of things, this Premier League season. Are you thinking Forest is a good test, or are you thinking Spurs should roll over them in some way?
Like we should. On paper, we should roll them over, but matches are never won on paper. Forest looked pretty good against Everton for a good while there until Everton caught them back. And West Ham actually were very unlucky against them. So, like, the thing that worries me about this game on Sunday, this is the biggest match Nottingham Forest have played since 1999, basically. Since they were relegated or whenever they went down. We're the biggest team to come to their place. We're the first big team to come to their place this season. I'm not counting West Ham as a big team, obviously. So, they're going to be up for it. So we're going to have to be we're going to have to be watchful. They've got that young guy, Brendan Johnson, good little player up front. And they paid that ridiculous transfer fee for the Morgan Gibbs White, who's not worth a quarter of what they paid for him. So they will be up for it. But I think we should have too much quality. We really should have too much quality. And I can't see their defense coping with Harry Kane and Kulusevski and Son or Rick Allison. I really can't. So while they might put us under pressure at the back, I don't think they're not going to know what hit them if our boys can get the ball moving up to the front 3.
I think you're spot on with the Forwards. I think we have too much. I think we'll ultimately put them to bed. But where I will say is where I think they do pose a threat is a bit similar to Wolves. If Romero isn't fit, Dyer, Sanchez, and Davies, their first thing thought is to retreat. And sometimes they retreat too deep.
Yeah.
Whereas when Romero's in there, he comes out and engages them. He doesn't let them have the shot on the goal, because when you're retreating, all you're doing is open up your goal and open up angles for them to shoot. And when I watched Forest the last 2 games, they will shoot any opportunity or any fight they get on goal.
They will.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're going to have to be careful. Like what they're going to do, they're going to come at us like a whirlwind in the first 10 minutes, and we're going to have to be on our game. But I reckon once that whirlwind dies down, class will take over, and we will win that game. And I think we'll win it comfortably. But it's just we don't want to give them a goal start. We really do not want to get them, because that will get the crowd on their side. It'll make our guys especially if Romero's not playing. It'll make our back four, back three, whatever it is, get very nervous. But no, I think it's a good game to have after the Wolves game. I think is to go away. Let's face it. The expectation from the home crowd on Saturday there was immense. And you could feel that little bit of discontent coming into the game in the first half. The crowd was getting on the team back a little bit, and you don't want that. Away from home, you won't have that. So, I think it's good. It's a good game to go. And then we're going to follow it up with the team against the bottom team in the league on the following Wednesday against West Ham. And again, that's their cup final. That really is their cup final. God help them.
So true.
But I'm again, they're not playing well. They haven't even scored a goal yet. Now, I hope they're not saving it up for us. But, again, that's another game we have to go and win because City on the 10th of September is the acid test for how we're actually progressing. And that's tricky. But then again, City don't like playing us either because look what we've done to them in recent times.
Spot on. Let me ask you this question, Philip. With the West Ham game, I believe it's midweek. I think I'm correct. It's midweek.
Wednesday night,
Would you make any changes for the Forest game? And also, when you look at the midfield, the last two games, it's struggled against teams who have an extra number in there, but also teams that dominate more possession than Tottenham. Would you make a change in that midfield in terms of personnel or even a change in formation? And if so, who would you bring in and drop out?
Well, I think I could be very, again, this might be sending out the wrong signal. It might be sending out a defensive signal to Forest that we're a bit scared of them, is to play Betancourt, Bissouma and Højbjerg. Now, I don't quite know how that's going to fit in because it might mean one of Kane, Son and Kulusevski has to sit on the bench, But I don't know. That midfield conundrum now is going to be a bit funny one to sort out. I still think it'll be Betancourt and Bissouma will be the long-term central midfield players. But that's a very good question, and I really don't know if then again, Conte doesn't want to show any fear. He doesn't want to show other teams he's scared of them. Yeah. So from that point of view, it's probably unlikely that he will make the changes. He might tweak the formation a little bit, but he won't make physical changes, bringing in an extra man in midfield. I don't think. Yeah. It's going to be interesting what he does. I'll have great faith in him, but again, I do not want to go through the same thing as we had with Chelsea and Wolves, where Spurs literally don't start playing until the 46th minute.
Well, I was going to bring this up now, Philip. I feel like what we came up against Chelsea, I mentioned it in the watch along, was like Chelsea were just moving the ball around with like such efficiency. It was just one touch, two touch passing. Jorginho was just absolutely running the show, with Conte. And we are going to talk about this, midweek, with Dave, and say like, is this really something that Conte doesn't really, he might not be too concerned, with being kind of dominated in the midfield from time to time, but we did come up twice in a row against Jorginho and Conte, and then the following week, Ruben Neves, who I thought was also kind of in a similar fashion, just running the show. I feel like Nottingham Forest, Philip, I don't really know of any player in that team that is going to run the show in that sort of fashion, which gives me a bit of hope.
Yeah, no, and again, Conte also knows that. You can be sure he's had the scouts watching the Forest games, and he'll have every little detail analysed and passed on to the players to do what they like on the pitch. So I don't think he will make. I don't think he's going to He's not going to show fear against a team like Forest, to be honest with you. And I'd be surprised if he did. So I think that Forest don't have a Ruben Neves. They don't have a Jorginho. They're a team that's just promoted. They'll be giddy as hell next Sunday. They really will. This is the biggest game, as I said, and they'll be tough opposition. We will beat them though, and I hope that we don't have to wait until the 46th, 48th, 50th minute before we have our first shot on target. Yeah. I think Harry Kane's header was the first one after 42 minutes or something. Was the first one. No, we can't do that. We've got to go out there. We're a team that's been tipped to win cups and maybe titles this season. We've got to go out there and show them who's boss. Yeah. And that's from minute one upwards. Dictate the pace of the game, get after them, don't let them settle, don't let them get a crowd behind them, and then first goal goes in, they'll be deflated, the crowd will be deflated, we can go on and win it comfortably.
Have you been frustrated how we've begun, kind of first halves? Because, it has been, a bit lackadaisical or maybe a bit timid.
Well, the first 20 minutes against Southampton weren't great. After that, it was okay. The entire first half against Chelsea and Wolves were not good enough. Not good enough by any stretch of the imagination. And, I'm surprised that in a way that Conte let it go that long. Why didn't he tweak it during the first half? Because against a team with a better strike force, we could have been easy 2-0 down at halftime, 3-0 down against Wolves. Yeah. And if that had been, you can imagine the crowd reaction at halftime if that had been the case.
Hard to disagree.
Well, I mean, we were when we were over there for the last game, Philip, at home last season.
That was the atmosphere was poisonous there.
Yeah.
And rightly so, to be honest with you. I mean, not just because we were there and I'm so disappointed to go all that way to not see Spurs playing, And then I had to compare. Go on.
Let me ask you this, Philip. When he starts stripping in the new signings that we've made this summer across the team, because, look, I think we all agree, because the players got in top 4 last season, he can't break their trust because he needs them to fill in for games with the busy schedule up until November. So he has to wait for them to make mistakes. Say if we get Basuma into that midfield, say if you, Richarlison starts hitting the ground running, scores a few goals and gets himself in the team or whatever. Maybe Spence could come out of nowhere, get in at right wing back, Langley in for Davies, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll see a better Tottenham? Do you think you'll see a Tottenham that can dominate the game from minute 1 to minute 90? Because when you look at the Southampton game, then you look at the Wolves and Chelsea game, it is very similar to what we were seeing last season. 1 minute you're phenomenal, the next season you're flat as a pancake.
Yeah, we didn't buy these 6 or 7 players for them to sit on the bench. He bought them to improve the starting 11. Now, he's been very, very diplomatic about the way he's doing it. He's been conservative. He's bringing them in one by one and not making mass wholesale changes, which that's out of respect to the players that got us where we are now in the Champions League. But once those players are integrated, tuned into the Spurs way of playing, I have no doubt we will be a much, much better team, much harder team to beat than we were last season. And we're going to be a terribly difficult team to play against. Not only for the physique that we've got on the team now, but the skill. I mean, I think Perisic has shown in the games that he's played just why we bought him. I mean, they're all talking about that was a poor corner by Sonny. That was not a poor. That was a rehearsed weak set piece move.
The guy has 4,000 odd routines, Philip. You think he'd be in there?
Well, let's hope he tries a few more of them because that was worked. That was a completely worked. And I just love the way. I know Nathan Collins, I'm delighted from an Irish point of view to see him play so well. But Nathan Collins got absolutely skinned by Harry Kane on the far post. Yeah. As many centre-halves have done before. They just can't cope with the guy. But it was a brilliant flick on by Perisic. And, that's what he's there for. One time he came through with the ball and I was screaming at him to shoot. And he didn't. He passed. The guy's got a bullet of a shot on him. Let's see a bit more of that. And get him on free kick duty as well.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like Sonny's also, good at delivery and Perisic is good at delivery, which is actually nice to have. We actually have 2 players, for once from set pieces that you could say are good, with their delivery. And you can kind of go for both. And in the case of Perisic, he is so 2-footed. He can take, left-footed corners as well, which I just think is, such a benefit. So also imagine those 2. I think Conte at one stage, Philip, he was even upset that they didn't go for, kind of a 2-on-1 situation, with Perisic and Son, kind of going at a defender, which you kind of think about that. That's even a good set piece situation where you have Sonny and Perisic, kind of running at, a defender, from a set piece or a corner.
For all their good work in that game on Saturday, we outpassed Wolves overall over the 90 minutes. With more accurate passes than Wolves, we ran more than them, and we also had more attacking movements than they had. So, while the overall performance might have been not that impressive, when you look at the stats kind of don't exactly agree with that. I think if you look at the stats only without seeing the match, you say, "Oh yeah, Spurs deserve to win that." So whether or not, I don't think any Wolves fans will agree on that. Would agree with that. Match of the day certainly didn't, and I didn't even watch any of the Sky reaction because I said I'm not going to go there.
No pundits annoyed you this week over the weekend, Philip?
No, I didn't. Well, I was trying to avoid them, to be honest with you. The only one that avoided me a little bit. Well, no, the guy that was laughing was Jamie O'Hara. After yesterday, saying, "Come on, goodness, we don't know where Jason Cundy is. Anybody seen him?"
Yeah. Oh, he's brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah. But look, Philip, anything else you want to say to Spurs fans before we let the Godfather leave?
No, listen. I mean, it's been a good week. We're 3rd or 4th, or whatever way you want to put it in the league. We have a very winnable game coming up on Saturday. We have another winnable game coming up the Wednesday after. Good time to be a Spurs fan. Keep the faith. Conte will get it right eventually. Get a new centre back in. We'll all be dancing for joy now, especially if it's a good one. And we're going to be okay. We're going to be good. We're going to be fine. And I mean, let's let Arsenal think they've won the league already. And I mean, some of the comments about Arsenal have been just over the top altogether. They played absolutely nobody, and the top of the league. You know, why did they play Liverpool when United? They're actually playing United in a couple of weeks' time. That'll be very interesting.
Yeah,
so it will.
It'll be brilliant if they got snagged up. Brilliant.
Yeah. Anyway, just like to say, the THFC till I die is a year old tomorrow. So happy birthday to Dermot and Ellie and all the lads involved in that. So it's good fun. And if you haven't seen it, get over there and have a look at it.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Absolutely love that. Well, the Godfather, thank you very much for your time this evening, my man. And you get to bed early because you've got some drums to beat tomorrow.
I've actually got a night off tomorrow, but I have something else to do instead. So anyway, I have to get up way early in the morning. So listen, see you soon, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Philip. Everybody, give the Don the love he deserves in the comments. Absolute legend, speaking sense as usual. You know, one thing I'll give Philip, he never gets too high, he never gets too low. He's very level-headed. I absolutely love that. But look, let's keep moving, Jack. Oh, yep, Dark Sun G. He says, I have faith that the Don will bring in at most 2 more players before the deadline day, like Kulu and Bentancur, because Conte wants a double squad and we are too short. Well, look, what I will say is, looks like Gil Messi will be on his way out, so you'd probably bring in an attacking midfielder or another player in the forward area. And if Tanganga goes to AC Milan, we'll have no option but to bring in a defender. But I will say I don't think he'll be the defender we're all expecting, if I'm being honest. There's a guy, Zabanye. We've been linked with him all window, links in and out all window. Tottenham have had a bit of interest in him actually longer than the summer. I reckon it'll be someone like that. Is he of the standard we need? Is he better than what we already have? I would say at the minute, it's an unknown, really. So for me, I'm not sure it's the right guy we need, but at the end of the day, if Tanganga goes out, we have to fill his spot.
Yeah, well said, Dave. Dark Sun G, I kind of been with Dave here. I feel like a center back will be brought in, of some kind, probably might be a Zerbani of some sort. What I do like about Zerbani quickly is that he is sort of, tall, lean, quick center back like Sanchez, but in comparison, and a big difference between him and Sanchez is that he's actually pretty good with the ball at his feet and is, I think, more or less actually ball playing center back from what at least I've seen from him in sort of games and whatnot, and kind of the Europa qualifying as well as Champions League qualifying games. And like you said there, I have faith that the Don is going to get it done like he did in January. Keep faith in the Don, but Dark Sun G, don't need to tell you that, my man. I know you keep faith in him no matter what. The good brother. He
loves the Don. He has pictures. He got an Art Deco wallpaper made up of Don Paratici for his bedroom as a statement wall behind the bed, Jack.
Oh, I mean, you have to have a Paratici shrine, at some stage. Some people are a little late to it, but eventually, maybe when we get some big signing that they're fully convinced on, eventually, they'll have a Paratici shrine, or at least at least some sort of moment every day where they thank Paratici for what he's done for the football club.
Big up, Dark Song G. Moondog, he says, good evening, lads. Dyer to score against Forest. Told you it wasn't going to happen against Wolves at the weekend, my man. Look, you missed the opportunity. Dyer pops up when no one expects him, like first game of the season, last game of the season, preseason, maybe the odd cup game. But don't do it to yourself. Pick another player, Moondog. Pick another player.
Quick theory, though, Moondog. Quick theory. I think Dyer, if he has extra touches, the more touches he has, the more he kind of turns into rocket boots. It's kind of like, he's charging up for, a turbo blast, sort of hit. But, it only means if he has lots of touches on the ball, maybe the better he is. But he did have moon boots moments against Wolves, and it wasn't, pretty to see. But keep the faith, Moondog. Keep the faith.
Big up. Dark Zone G says, once Skip returns, we can rest Pierre and Højbjerg and Bentancur equals helpful. Look, I have a small bit of a theory. When I look at the teams that dominate possession against us, I don't think Bentancur should be playing. I think it should be Basuma and Højbjerg. I think, look, unless you have 2 players of Bentancur's ability that you can just keep popping the ball around, The only other way of counteracting teams that have a better midfield than you, that can better technical players that can keep possession, is by playing two workhorses, two ball winners in there. So for me, I would probably go with Højbjerg and Bissouma for teams like that. But then other teams that you expect to dominate possession, you put Bentancur in.
Maybe. Perhaps, in that sort of scenario, Dave, maybe even, Højbjerg, gets more of a rest and, you put someone like Bissouma then alongside Bentancur, when you are going to have more of the ball. And then when you kind of anticipate having less of the ball, you need Højbjerg in there, because as much as maybe Højbjerg isn't exactly, similar to Bentancur in the way that he is, with, being able to receive ball under pressure and, have those pretty, kind of dancing feet, Højbjerg is still, and at least in my opinion, the best ball winning midfielder in this team. He is the hardest, kind of steal in that midfield. And when you are coming up against teams that just love to ping it around, love to, dominate possession, you're going to need some steal in that midfield. Agreed, Dave.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more with myself, to be honest with you. Big up Dark Song G. He also says, I would love to see Mitrovic score for the win versus Gooners. And look, what I will say, this isn't going to be a foregone conclusion like many people are thinking. It's not the same Fulham side. I've watched their last couple of games. When they get forward, they break forward. They're in numbers. They get into the box in numbers. They can create chances. And if Arsenal let them down the side and float one in, Mitrovic is cleaning out any one of their centre backs.
You showed Mitrovic a bit of praise before, the season even started, if I heard you, Dave, once before. I think you said that, he's kind of coming back into this one with a bit of a vengeance, after, how it didn't go so well times before. And I've said this to you before, Dave, the rise of the big man, or the return of the big man, is back. The big number 9 is back in the Premier League. And Mitrovic is probably one of the classiest donkeys up top I've ever seen in my life. So I'm looking forward to seeing Big Mitro tearing apart the Gooners.
I was even putting him around as a backup striker to come in here over the summer. I said Mitrovic, as he scores goals, put balls in the box, let him go and header it. It's how you beat some of these smaller teams. So, look, hopefully Mitrovic will step up. I think he will. He missed a lot of chances last weekend. He'd be angry with himself.
Yeah, definitely. And then Dark Sun G says, let's beat Forest away and finally win at West Ham away. We were actually robbed against West Ham away under Nuno. That kind of actually speaks to how bad those bubble blowers really are, Dark Sun G, because in that Nuno game, despite us losing from that set piece, I really did think we were actually the better team, on the day. And this is, again, Nuno football that we're talking about. I really did think we were still the better team. And, when it comes to, Forest, I feel like, we shouldn't really be too concerned about it. I see us getting it done. Might not be the prettiest of games, maybe in some similar fashion to Wolves, where it could be, some sketchy moments, but I still see Spurs finding way. And the bubble blowers, they're desperate, Dark Sun G. And I think they might get some sort of semblance of points this weekend. But then once they come up, against Spurs, an actual big club, something they're not really too familiar with, pretty sure they'll, kind of succumb to the pressure like they always have.
And all I'm going to say to people is, look, yes, you have to show every team a little bit of respect. But don't tell me all this week, show them respect. Because at the end of the day, we're Tottenham Hotspur. They're Nottingham Forest Football Club. Took them 21 years to even get back up to the Premier League. It should be a 3 points. I demand 3 points. I expect 3 points. And anything less than 3 points, for me, you may as well lose.
Yeah, you'd be disappointed. You'd be disappointed with anything less than 3 points. Well said, Dave. Yeah. But we'll keep moving on, and we're going to talk with our man on the blue sofa, the one with the songs as well, and we're going to see what he has to say about the last weekend. Brad Matthews, how you keeping?
Yeah, guys. Good. Thanks. Good to see you back, Jack. A nice holiday.
Good to be back. Like I said, or like Nick said, a bit pinker than, maybe some people, normally see me on camera, but, we'll recover. But this weekend, I must say, Brad, as much as I was, coming back from vacation, it felt like the vacation continued with all the results that went our way.
Wow. It was a Carlsberg weekend, wasn't it, really? Weekends, that would be it. I mean, obviously Arsenal winning at Bournemouth sort of, would have been the icing on the cake, but you can't have everything. Right. But it was good. It was good. First of all, I couldn't get to the game, unfortunately, because of the strike. The buses I was going to get were on strike as well, and an Uber there and back would have been probably between £70 and £100. So it being on telly and
it's
being
still not worth it, Brad. Is it surely Tottenham are priceless, my man?
Well, they are. If it hadn't been on telly, it had been a bigger game. I definitely would have paid it. So if it had been a North London derby, or even if it had been Wolves but not on TV, I definitely would have paid that. But 12:30 kick-off, and if I'm honest, a little bit of a hangover. I thought, you know what, I'm going to cut my losses and and not go. But yeah, it was one of those games, wasn't it? I've been. If you'd have talked to me at half time about it, I'd have been probably fuming and why don't we go at them? But we did in the second half, and we seem to start. We've always started slowly. Even last season, we started slowly, but for some reason on Saturday, we basically started slowly and kept slowly. And to be fair, Wolves played well. Don't get me wrong; they played us well. But then in the second half, it was more a case of no, hang on a minute, no, you're here to worry about us, like what you just said earlier about Forest. It's like no, you're at our ground. You're playing at one of the better teams in the league. You're going to worry about us now, and they just went for it. And Wolves didn't really have an answer once that happened. And so in the end, I was pleased with the result, 3 points. Well, look, we're all honest. We know we've got things to work on. We know we're not perfect at the moment. We know there are things.
What are them things to work on, Brad?
Well, we need to sort out this thing where we do get overrun in midfield. That's a bit of a problem,
especially in the first half, right?
Yeah, it happened against Wolves. Now I don't know how you do that. I mean, because we rely on our free forwards so much, it's very difficult to say, oh well, you bring in the extra midfielder and you take off one of your forwards. It's not that simple. So
then you're losing something up top.
Yeah, it's. I guess you could also say you bring your wing backs into the midfield a lot more.
Yeah,
them to press up.
Emerson doing
that gives you that extra people in there and that extra width. But Conte is a great manager. He'll know how to sort something out. He'll work on that.
And even Brad, I think you brought up some good solutions there that probably Conte would even kind of bring up himself, because there's even an article that's being brought up in The Athletic, talking about Conte is actually not always too concerned with being dominated in the midfield in certain games. He said he doesn't want to be dominated in every game. Don't get me wrong. But when he's coming up against, like we said, a Ruben Neves, who I thought looked world class, practically, and then Jorginho and Conte, he's like, listen, let them have the ball in midfield. That's not where we expect to be hurt anyway.
Yeah, we get players back pretty quickly as well, so we do get a lot of people behind the ball when the opposition have it. So that is always going to make it difficult, no matter who you are and who you're playing. If you've got to go up against 7 or 8 players in front of you, that makes it difficult. So yeah, you're probably right. And I saw that article. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but he doesn't seem to be too bothered. I think he probably was concerned that we didn't seem to have any life in us in that first half, and in the second half, we really went for it, and and that obviously caused them the problems. And you had players that played pretty poorly in the first half, suddenly playing really, really well. You saw the class of Perisic in that second half. He's at the moment, he's obviously, if he's fit, he's preferred over Sessegnon, and that's fair enough. He's got the experience, he's got all that. Sessegnon is only 22, so it might take him a few years to get like that. But no, Perisic showed. I mean, I couldn't believe some of the crosses that he got in. It's like, how did he get that in? That cross to Kane.
All he needs is an inch, Brad. All he needs is an inch of space, and he'll get it through.
It's not saying give him an inch and he'll take a mile.
Yeah. That cross for Kane in the first half that he headed, the keeper tipped over. It's amazing how he did that, and he did it again in the second half. What I will say about I saw a lot of negativity over a lot of fan shows over the weekend. People getting really concerned, blah 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 blah. You know what? When that final whistle went, I'm going, yes. 3 points.
Thank you, Brad.
I went out. I had a few drinks. Yeah, spoke to my 2 mates. One was a Liverpool fan. One was a QPR fan. And it was a great night, and it was great that we got the win. And I'm thinking to myself, would I rather have that feeling of playing mediocrely and winning, or would I rather see Tottenham play the most amazing football ever over 90 minutes, the keeper's man of the match, saving this, saving that, and we lose to a last-minute goal?
Or even like Chelsea felt, Brad. Even like Chelsea felt. They played fantastic against us. Only grabbed a point at home.
Exactly. So I'd much rather have that, because the thing with Tottenham at the moment is that they can improve. If we'd have been watching this football under Nuno, we would be thinking, this is probably it. We can't really get any better. But with this team under Conte and how they played at the end of last season, that they're going to get better. And it's going to be, once we get these new players into the Conte way of playing football, then he'll be able to do the rotation. He more or less said it in the press conference about rotation. So it's going to happen. It's not going to be a question of, oh, so-and-so's playing poorly, drop him, bring this one in. It's going to be a question, no, rest him. And I have a feeling that might happen against West Ham because there's only, 3 days between Forest and West Ham. So I think we might see some changes in the team that plays West Ham. I think at the moment, now he's got the week break, he can more or less play the same 11 and get away with it. But I think against
and
West Ham,
also it being away from home, I feel like sometimes while it may be Forest, you sort of think perhaps you do, kind of consider, Forest away from home could be a trickier affair. I agree with Dave. 3 points, is the absolute must, but you could maybe get away with maybe some sort of changes in the Forest game as well as some sort of changes in the West Ham game.
I think the Forest game will be a situation where they're going to come at us. They've got that momentum, they've got that spirit. If we can sort of contain that for 10, 15 minutes, then we're going to have chances to pick them off. We've seen what Tottenham can do against teams that attack and attack and attack. We've got such a great team when we counter attack. I think that's where I think we can win the game on Sunday is by our class forwards. They haven't got Wolves players, winning the ball and keeping us from playing. They've got literally a championship side there. So I think that's hopefully the way it'll go on Sunday.
Let me ask you this, Brad. Hotspur 82 here says, "Good evening, panel. Do you think Conte's brutal pre-season has affected our performances so far?"
The only way it will affect our performances is if they're not quite up to fitness yet. But I imagine they probably are up to fitness.
I think they're almost too fit.
Yeah, no, because the second half they came out and they went for it, So I don't think so. It shouldn't do. Not early in the season. It shouldn't do. Maybe
I bet they're outrunning most teams anyway. In a lot of factors.
Yeah. And it's
in the second half, Brad. Us rejuvenating always in the second half. Conte can rely on that energy being there, on that stamina being there in the second half to recover.
Yeah. And also, you're going to have, once you do start the rotation, then you're going to take that away as well. That you're not playing 90 minutes every 3 days at that pace and that relentlessness. But I don't think it is. You could maybe make that argument at the end of the season if we start to flag off. But they said the same about Pochettino, really. But at the end of the day, these are professional sportsmen. These are unique, sort of finely tuned athletes. It's all very well for us to sit there and watch it on TV thinking, oh, gee, I don't know if I can run around like that. But these guys are athletes, so they should be able to as well.
I'd rather my team, be in some sort of spectacular, shape, physically, because, in the modern game, if you ask me, Brad, most teams that I've seen be extremely successful are usually some of the fittest teams, as well, the teams that are able to, that go the full 90 minutes, teams that are able, to press, if need be, when they asked, them in the 70th minute, in a whim. And I think, Conte is building a type of team like that.
Yeah, and it's resilient. I mean, the result on I'm not saying about last season because we obviously lost at home to Wolves last season, but I think that sort of game last season we'd be drawing, and this season we're turning that draw into a win. And same with the Chelsea game, that sort of game last season we'd be losing, but we're turning that loss into a draw. So that's positives, and you got to look at these positives. I'm getting a bit fed up with the negativity that's around there because we're not playing brilliantly. We're not. No. To be fair, I mean, Man City had a couple of good performances. No team's really playing well consistently at the moment. So why should we worry? As I said, I'm confident that this team can get better. I think we got the players there. We still need, we do need another centre back. We do need another midfielder. And the way that Conte was speaking at the press conference, one out, one in. So if that Bryan Hill deal's going through, then you think we're going to get another attacking player in. Yeah. And they're still talking about Tanganga going. So if that happens, then you get another centre back in.
I want to ask you this, Brad, just quickly, my man. Is Conte right in what he's doing and just letting the players that he had trust in and faith in last season make the mistakes to nurture and bring in the new signings? Or should he just be ruthless and say, look, you done well last season, but you're not at our level. I'm putting in the new guys.
Well, he was, I'm just saying, in a way, ruthless on Saturday by replacing Sessegnon with Perisic. But then he actually said in the pre-match interview that was to do with rotation. So I think he's very meticulous in his ways. I mean, he used to say last season that he's always better with a week between games because he can concentrate on the tactics. So we've got 6 or 7 new players in there that haven't had that tactical input, although Perishic might know from Inter Milan days. So I think he's being careful and measured. And I think this Tottenham team, I think this season will be a more careful and measured and professional team. And at the end of the day, if that wins you things, then I've no problem with that. So I think he's going with a team he trusts at the moment. I don't go with this, if one player has a bad game, get rid of him. It's like, especially, people like Son, who is going to come good, So, but yeah, so I think that we will see rotation once these players are settling into his system, and once we do get the games every 3 days, and then of course once that happens, they're going to get game time and match experience as well. So
yeah,
I haven't really got a problem with the teams that Conte is picking at the moment. He knows what he wants, and he knows the players he can trust, and he knows, and he's not seem to be making any risks. Apparently, I don't know if anyone watched the Ali Gold thing from yesterday when he's talking about Romero. It's really actually quite fun. Ali Gold is actually quite funny. They're sort of saying to Romero, okay, now you got this abductor muscle, so you're going to be out for 2 or 3 weeks. Oh, okay. So I play then? No. You're going to be out for 2 or 3 weeks. Oh, that's not a problem. So I'm going to play then. No.
I think they said he did the same thing, even for the North London Derby. I think they said he wanted to play in that game, and was sort of, trying to tell everybody that he was really fine when in actuality he really wasn't, which is very Kane and very Højbjerg-esque. It sounds like we have another Kane, another Højbjerg in the team.
It's
admirable. But it's like a fan. A fan would not want to pull out of playing that game. It's like
exactly,
a fan. I love that.
Exactly. And then, let's hope that. I have a feeling that we won't see Romero until after the international break. I think we got the Forest game and the West Ham game 3 days after. I've got a feeling that we won't see him in those 2 games. We have to put up with the fact that Sanchez is out there. I actually thought he had a reasonable day on Saturday. But I know there's been a lot. I've noticed there's been a lot of stuff going on Twitter today, David. So I'm not going to get into the Sanchez dire debate, but we just have to live with it at the moment. If Romero's not playing, we got Sanchez in there. We just have to support him and hope he does a good job.
What I will say, Brad, is we don't have to live with it at the moment. We can do something about with it. We've 9 days left to do it, but until if the window closes, then there is nothing we can do about it. That's the difference.
Yeah. We definitely do need. And I said this last season. We definitely, no matter how well Dyer and Davis played last season, you want them as 2 squad players. You want to upgrade if you're going to go even higher than 4th. So we definitely need that centre back. We've got Longley. I still don't know a lot about Longley, to be honest. So I'll be interested to see how he plays when he starts playing. We've got Romero, who's Romero. Can you imagine if we had someone like Skriniar at centre back? Skriniar, Lenglet, and Romero. I mean, that's you ain't
I sleep well at night, Brad. I would sleep really well at night.
So I do agree that we do need to get another centre back in before the window closes. But if we don't, we might have to wait until January. So it's just I'm sure they're out there doing what they can. I'm sure there's players they're looking at. They know what they want. So. And as I said before, if the player doesn't want to come to us, they don't want to come to us. Simple as that. So there's not a lot we can do about that.
Spot on. Well, look, Brad, why don't you tell people where they can find you, my man?
Yes, I have a YouTube channel out called Blue Sofa Songs. It's me basically writing my own songs and my lyrics and my own music, trying to play guitar as best I can, trying to sing as best I can. The latest one out there, I'll be interested to see what people's comments are on it, on what the song's about. It's called A Love We All Know. The lyrics are in the description. It's open for interpretation, but there is a reason behind me writing it. But I'll be interested to see what people's comments are on it. Blue Sofa Songs, also also on Twitter. You can find it on B Sofa Songs. I'm trying to get a song out every Friday. I'm using my laptop video now, so I've even been able to put a little song title at the top, and even in this latest one, there's even a special effect in there which I discovered that my laptop does in Windows. So I'm trying to make it better. I'm trying to make it better as much as I can. There's a lot to improve on. I know that, but just hopefully like the songs. It doesn't cost anything to click like and subscribe. It adds to the algorithms or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll go on there and like what you see and like what you hear. And thank you
Brad,
guys.
I'm going to need. Thank you.
Thank you. Like and subscribe. Thank you guys.
Thank you. I'm going to need that.
I really do appreciate the support. And some people that on Irish Hotspur show have been putting in some nice comments on there. And you know what? When they do that, that inspires me to keep doing it and to improve as well. So if you do like what you hear, then please say so. That's really, really nice. But thank you guys.
That's it. It takes, sometimes it takes, 1 minute out your day, and that one comment, can just put a smile on someone else's face, give them confidence, etc., etc. So that's why I always encourage people, just put in a comment underneath. Even if you want to just go, look, great show, thumbs up. It doesn't even have to be anything special. Just put one in,
Yeah, no, totally agree. But no, thank you for the plug.
And also as well, I would say, Brad, you had a fantastic call-in, and I really enjoyed, speaking with you. I thought you really had, a lot to say, and I really enjoyed, this conversation we had. So if anybody enjoyed that conversation, enjoyed what Brad had to say, just go over there and give him, the subscribe just for that alone. Give him a like button, just for that alone, because not only do we know, he has, the Blue Sofa songs, but I think you just need, to show him a bit of support, because he had a great call-in, Brad. I really enjoyed speaking with you.
The other thing I will say is also it helps if you watch the whole song as well. So even if you flick it on and after 15 seconds, I don't really fancy this, just go out in the kitchen and make
Put it on with the dishes.
Let it play out. It only lasts about 3 minutes, at the most, 3.5 minutes. So just let it play out, because that, that helps as well. So I appreciate your support, guys. And don't forget to click like and subscribe to these guys. And anyone else that's on the show after me, or I say before me, it's Philip, but he hasn't got his own show. But anyone else on after me, and congratulations to THFC, to Adolf for I can't even talk now. Need a drink.
1 year,
but,
1 year,
1 year anniversary. Congratulations, guys! And again, go and subscribe to them. As I said, it doesn't cost anything, and it takes a few seconds. So
big up, Brad. But Brad.
Cheers, guys.
The rest of your evening, you might have a few strings you might need to restring or whatever else. So go and enjoy yourself, brother. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a good evening, okay?
Have a good evening, Brad. See you soon.
Great call-in, my man. Great call-in.
Big up. Come on, you Spurs. Absolute great chat there with Brad. Everybody get over, check out his channel, guys. Everybody check it out. Dark Song G says, after us, Hammers play Blues away and Newcastle at home. At this rate, West Ham will be relegated because they're dropping way too many points and cannot score at the minute. I mean, look, they could very well find themselves down there if they don't start finding that very, very quickly. Look, Jack said it last season. I mean, me and Jack were there when they were celebrating and winning corners. I mean, they're set piece merchants, Jack.
Yeah. I even, my Premier League predictions, if anybody hasn't checked that out yet, I would, just zoom forward to, to the West Ham, part. I actually think I put them as high as 8th, 9th, or low as 8th or 9th. I said Dark Sun G actually anticipated David Moyes slipping up this season, because not only like what David said, that they rely on the set pieces and they rely on scoring, from the dead ball situations, which as much as, you want to have that in your locker, you don't want to rely on that as your, sole source of goals, which I feel like is the case, for them. David Moyes, I feel like he's played really conservative, really deep lying, kind of counter-attacking only, kind of football. And if you want to really advance up the table, you're going to have to find some nuances in that system. And you're going to have to find, a bit more kind of, progression. You're going to have to open yourself up a bit more if you do want to get higher up the table. And if you don't do that, there are teams that will figure you out. And I think that's what's happening to West Ham, is they play so conservatively, Dark Sun G. They play so deep within their lines, and they, they don't really like to break out of their shell. They, they don't like to, give too much away. It's almost hurting them, where it's actually forcing these kind of 0-0, really tense, cagey games, when in actuality, they should be dominating these games. Like, they should be, the team that's running the show, but, they're allowing the other team to kind of take the game to them in kind of a, I don't know. Yeah. And it's sort of a poor manner. So if anybody wants to check out my Premier League predictions on the Flat Cap, just zoom forward. I kind of basically said, I'm skeptical about David Moyes this season.
And right to be. Look, they've had a couple of good spells, but they haven't done enough in terms of signings and all, in my opinion, to keep going with the momentum they've had. So big up, Dark Sun G. I do want to take this one just quickly. I'm not going to get bogged down on it. Look, I like stats. Everybody knows that, but you
I
also
checked
need to
up
put
on this. I remember, Dave.
Yeah, you also need to put context to these stats. Look, one of the games relegated, Norwich. I expect my team to keep a clean sheet. Burnley, end of season, practically relegated. Expect my team to keep a clean sheet. They don't score goals. 10-man Arsenal who lacked carrying a threat for at least 70 minutes of that game, 60, 70 minutes of that game. I expect my team to not concede against 10 men. Wolves yesterday, we all know they have problems scoring goals. They do not score goals. So my point being is that stat is against teams down the bottom half of the table. Even if you look at Wolves now, they're down on 17th, just outside the relegation zone. So when you look at that stat, I wouldn't be using that to big Davinson Sanchez up because it's against teams that are all down the bottom end of the table and do not score goals. And the rest of the stats or the rest of the minutes or hours are added up by substitute appearances off the bench when the game's already won. So, bit of context with the stat.
Furthermore, I think when I even checked back in that season, after getting, those 3 clean sheets, with Sanchez, I was like, okay, fair play to Sanchez. He got those 3 clean sheets, at the end of the season. When's the last time, that he started, a Premier League game that season? The last time he started a Premier League game that season, Dave, was that 2-0 loss, I believe, to Wolves that you actually happened to be there firsthand yourself. And he was actually one that started in that game. So, as much as he had those 3 clean sheets at the end of the season, the previous, actual start that he had was one of the worst, I think, displays, we had put out there that you happened to be there, yourself for, Dave, which, I think, again, we don't envy your position there. We definitely don't. Dark Sun G saying Gooners will drop off starting from Brentford away because after that game is the international break and then they will face us in the home as the home team. Liverpool at home as well. Leeds away, City at home, and then Southampton away. Let's let them be happy for now. And someone even put in the comments, Dark Sun G, Nuno, 9 points after 3 games, in his case. You have to really look at this, situation with Arsenal. Yes, they play that free-flowing system. Yes, Gabby Jesus looks good and all that kind of stuff, but they're really just rolling over, quite pathetic teams. And the way that I think they play sort of maybe on the seeing eye, makes it look like they're a lot better than they really are. I think when they do come up against a real sort of test, even if they were to play Chelsea right now, despite even Chelsea, you could say being a bit wounded, despite Chelsea even being a bit rattled, I feel like Chelsea would give them a good game. And that would be a better test to see how, what sort of grit they have, what their real, kind of situation is as to, what they've learned from last season. Because Dark Sun G, as we know, when they did, face the real test last season, when they even faced top 6 teams last season, they always found a way to crumble. They did a great job beating up on the big, on the little guys, Arsenal. They seem to do a good job beating up on the little guys. But whenever they come up against a team their own size, they seem to crumble.
And I'll also add, they lost a lot of points after international breaks last season. I think when the last international break before the end of the season, they came off the international break, lost 3 games on the bounce. So, going away on international breaks really does affect their squad harmony. So, I think you could be spot on with this one, Dark Sun G. Look, hopefully it's a bit of a reverse from last season. They lost their opening 3 and then went on a decent run. Let's hope now they won their opening 3 and now they go on a shit run. Let's hope it's the complete opposite, my man. Big up, Dark Sun G.
And then Joseph saying, Scum may be getting Neto and Tielemans. We really need to end the window strong and bring in at least a top center back and a midfield playmaker. We need to build up from strength and take this opportunity, everyone. Big up, you guys. Joseph, I don't even know, Dave, should we put this under the pillow tonight? Don't even know how we could put this better ourselves, from Joseph, especially to put it so efficiently. I think you definitely agree with, Joseph, and that you're not really afraid, what Arsenal are adding to their team. In fact, I really don't care about much of their signings. I feel like a lot of cases they're making themselves worse by continuing to buy more young players that are sort of not in that mental, kind of ability to lead them to actually winning trophies and, getting back to real success. But about Spurs, Dave, I mean, yeah, bring in a center back and maybe bring in someone like a Malinovsky or a Sergei Milinkovic-Savage. And I think every Spurs fan should be happy.
Look, I think even if we don't get it in, I would still be happy with the window because I was saying this the other day. Look, we're being brutally honest. You probably wanted 15 players in here, technically better than what we already had. You're never going to be able to do it purely because there's more dynamics to it. It's are you going to lose the standards that some players implement for the new guys coming in? Dressing room dynamics. time to bet in, etc., etc., etc. But I know people are sick of me going on about the back line and saying, Dave, give it a break, give it a rest, you have an agenda, which I don't. I just think it's one of the only area in the squad where I just think we're not good enough. And the reason why I say on about the centre-backs the whole time, look at the effect the centre-back can have on a team. Look what Virgil van Dijk done for Liverpool. You know, he came in, made them rock solid at the back. They went on to win a Premier League, a Champions League, an FA Cup, a League Cup, and a Club World Cup. You look at when Ruben Diaz came into Man City. Look at the effect he's had. They've got closer to the Champions League than they've ever been. Winning league titles, winning
even
all
Thiago
the other
Silva,
cups
you know, with Chelsea.
Look at, yeah, exactly. Thiago Silva, Chelsea last season. And that's the difference a real quality centre-back can really have on your team. And that's why I look at Tottenham, I think we're just a couple of parts of the puzzle missing. Maybe that cat or a better midfielder technically to compete with Bentancur, but a centre-back also. And I get people love Dyer, Davies, Sanchez. They're here since the Poch team. And I'm sorry to shatter your dreams tonight, but they were also back up under Pochettino. They were nowhere near his starting 11. No. And the only reason why if we're being realistic, these guys find themselves in the back line is because it's the only area on the pitch we haven't spent money on. We've neglected it. All we've done is bring in Romero, but we had to do that to go for a back three. But apart from that, we spent money at left wing back, right wing back, and we've had 2 goalkeepers in the door, spent money in midfield, spent money up in the forward areas, but have not done it in the centre back. And once Pochettino left and Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld left, Sanchez, Dyer, Davies, they've all had their time. We ended up down in Europa Conference League. The only reason why we got Champions League last season is because Romero came in and he solidified that defence. He has that aggression. He takes strikers out of the game. And that's the difference that a defender can make to bring you from Europa Conference League to Champions League. Imagine if we added one more to that position. And imagine where it'd take us then. We're not a million miles away off doing something special here. But let's get the job done in the final few days in the window. Let's get in that extra midfielder or an attacking, someone that's better on the ball, that can have more goals and assists from midfield. But let's also get the centre back in. We should not be afraid to upgrade. And I know people are going to say, oh, but they kept clean sheet. Fine. But the matter of the story is, and the matter of the fact is, Romero's going to get injuries. Dyer's going to get injuries, like proven last season. Go back and remember watching a lot of them games, October, November time. We could not keep clean sheets. We could not. We were making mistakes left, right, and centre, barely being able to pass out from the back, etc., etc. And then there's been other inconsistencies in our defensive game throughout the rest of that season onwards. And the thing is, you can't keep persisting with these guys who got you in the mud in the first place because defensively they weren't good enough. Yeah. And then all of a sudden act like they're good enough. People sit here and say Davies and Dyer, they're the most improved defenders at this, or the most proven players football at this club. Well, I mean, you're not going to say Harry Kane is the most improved because he just does it under every manager. But Dyer and Davies were so far off the pace, they had the most margin to be able to get to that point. So it's not even a fair reflection on them either. But these defenders have been a massive problem. Let's not sugarcoat it because they kept a couple of clean sheets. You measure your centre-backs on what they do against the top teams and the best teams, not what they do against teams that don't carry a threat.
Yeah, a very good point. And, we even were just speaking about Arsenal, not getting too ahead of that themselves, with, the results they've had, and whatnot, spot on there, Dave. And Joseph, I must say, even just the way that you've summarized maybe how we want to end the window strong, like you say, that would be the best way to end the window strong. And I'm pretty sure every Spurs fan would agree with you in bringing in that center back and that midfield playmaker. That should make everyone happy. And if you're not happy after that, I don't know. You might be thinking it's just FIFA or something, but Joseph, pretty sure every single Spurs fan agrees with you there. It's probably something they even should put up on the fridge or on the mantle. They agree with you that much. Big up, Joseph. Absolute legend.
Big up, Joseph. Top man. You set me off, Joseph. I've been trying to be good all show about it, but you set me off. Big up, Joseph. You win.
All right. We're going to move on to Daniel, the Højbjerg lover, and, we're going to see what he has to say after that Wolves performance. Big up, Daniel. How you keeping?
Nah, I'm doing well.
Daniel,
and where do you want to go, after Wolves? Where, Højbjerg, given actually the man of the match. Maybe we start with our big man, PEH. He was given the man of the match maybe for his second half recovery, and he's done that twice now. Chelsea, he recovered in the second half, and then, maybe against Wolves, he recovered in the second half.
Fair play to him, first of all, because after that yellow card, I thought he needs to be taken off now. at the beginning of halftime, but he got better, and yeah, I'm really happy for him because again he gets slagged off unnecessary.
Do you feel like
Look-
he took one for the team with that yellow card, though? As much as he did,
No,
maybe have to toe the line.
No, because I think I can't remember who it was, but someone had that covered. I think, if I
I think
remember
he was
correctly.
taking one for the team there. I think I
No,
remember seeing
Sanchez and
Sanchez
Dyer
and
both
Dyer
missed the
miss
tackle.
both their tackles, and then and then Geddes
clean
was like
through.
clean through. It looked like.
Oh, okay. Well, if that's
Yeah.
the case, then yeah, sure.
But we're Højbjerg lovers, and I'm just trying to protect Daddy
Yeah.
Højbjerg here. Daniel, let me do
Yeah,
the
of
work,
course.
protecting him. But where do you feel like what's the big takeaway from that Wolves game? For you, like how did you feel after that kind of tense affair?
I'm worried. I feel worried. I gotta say.
Why is
Yeah,
that?
look-
Because the first that's the second time in a row the first half has been disgraceful. It's like we played with, I don't know if you guys been in the military, but like with backpacks with rocks in them. You know what I mean?
What do you put that down to?
Yeah. What'd you say?
What do you put that down to?
I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to put that down to something. Also, yeah.
Come here, I'll ask you
Conte-
another question.
Yeah, sure.
I'll ask you another question. I see you don't like Emerson. I see a lot of comments. You're always
yeah.
giving out about Emerson. What go on, give us your opinion on Emerson.
Yeah, I don't want to say it, but I can't take it anymore. I can't. It's just not good enough at the end of the day. And I like him as a guy. He's funny and all, but it's just end of the day not good enough. And it's worrying because he looks like to be the first choice wing back now, right wing back. And
yeah, Conte loves him. Conte absolutely loves him.
Yeah. Because
why do you think Conte likes him?
I don't know. I don't know. He ruins the attacks all the time because he can't cross the ball still, and he's never going to be able to cross the ball. And every time he overlaps Kulu, and I know he's trying to, and he knows himself that he can't cross the ball. He knows it himself, but he just tries to always cut back again. There should be a stat with him. Every time he tries to cut back instead of cross, he will be the best in that. Jesus. But I don't want to go too much on him. But I need Spence to start, but that's not going to happen anytime soon.
No.
You were talking about those first halves, Daniel, and like you said, it feels like we're starting slow. Carrying rocks. You even said, as a metaphor for it. Do you feel like we can turn that around against Forest, or are you worried that's going to happen again?
Hopefully we can. I mean, I'm worried he could start again. Actually.
Mm-hmm. Why is it? Is it maybe they're not going in with the right sort of motivation, attitude? Are they sleepwalking into these games? Why do you think that is?
Maybe they love a Conte bollocking at halftime. Maybe that's the case.
They have a sick love for it.
Yeah, they have
a sick love for it. Yeah.
I'm gonna blame Conte a little bit as well. We're getting a little bit predictable at times as well.
You think he's getting predictable for his opponents?
So yeah, especially with the subs. I mean,
the subs. I think I've been enjoying the subs. Actually, I thought Richie actually was
no, not like that. But,
yesterday. Yeah,
sorry, not like that. But yeah, getting them too late, like 75 minutes. I think was the first couple of subs. That's a little bit too late.
Yeah, maybe.
And I thought we should have gotten change formation at halftime. I mean, we won at the end of the day, and that's good. But I don't want to be negative. Let's be positive here.
Maybe just to be. I mean, I appreciate your honesty, Daniel. That's what we want. My man. Believe me, that's what we want on the fan show. It's your floor. It's your mic. But in the case of Wolves, I feel like we started playing a lot better when they took off João Moutinho. In fact, speaking of substitutions, I thought that was kind of a mistake. Made by Bruno Lage, because the moment João Moutinho seemed to leave the field, felt like Spurs all of a sudden, were able to control the game more the moment Moutinho left, and then Neves was a bit more on his own. Would you kind of, maybe that was a poor substitution? Maybe you while Conte, in your eyes, made maybe poor substitutions, or at least made them too late, in your words, made them too late. I think Bruno Lage hurt Wolves by taking Moutinho off.
completely agree. That blew my mind to do that because him and Neves was untouchable.
They're running
almost.
the show.
Yeah, they were controlling, and so yeah, that was fantastic.
It was fantastic for us, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Dave was nodding his head there. And Dave, I don't know. Do you feel like the game was sort of maybe I don't know if it was one for Spurs, but were Spurs maybe given a break when Matinho was taken off?
I did hear
like we were
Kane,
given a life. Yeah,
I did hear Kane say and Conte in their interview saying they'd done something tactically at halftime. Look, I think we came out the second half with more aggression and stuff like that. But Nick hit his nail spot on it in the watch along, Jack. Is when Matinho came off, Wolves all of a sudden looked vulnerable in the back line. All of a sudden they were open in midfield. It completely opened up the game for Tottenham, which you can't do to us because we'll kill you. We know that. We will absolutely kill you. And me personally, and this isn't taken away from Tottenham, because at the end of the day, even if you're not playing well, get the points, get them in the bag, get out of there, dust yourself down, and go again next week. But I do believe we got the result because of the Matinho substitution. It opened up the game for us.
Yeah, I completely agree. That was one of the big reasons we got a result. And also now trying to stay positive. Last season we would have lost that.
Spot on. Well, last season we did lose. We lost
of course,
all 3 of the games.
You know what I mean? Games
points,
like that. Yeah. So that's positive now.
Yeah, it's a huge positive. Any concerns about Sonny at the minute?
It's hard. It's hard with him because next game he can hit the ground running, score 2 goals, hat-trick. No, I don't know if he needs a rest. If it does, he need it. Maybe. I mean, I would like to see Richarlison start, to be honest. So.
What I say to people is, world-class players, you play them through their bad patches because they'll always come good.
Yeah.
Average players, you take them in, you bring in other players because they need that kick up the hole. But world-class players, for me, or your best players, you always play them through that bad spell. Dropping them will have a negative effect on them rather than keep putting them out there. They can actually handle the pressure being out there every week and still making mistakes rather than being dropped. That's when you get to them sort of players.
And like Daniel said, because he's world-class, Dave, Daniel even said he might just score 2 goals, 3 goals next week. An average player doesn't do that. An average player doesn't just come in, and score 2, 3 goals. All of a sudden, a world-class player would turn it around and score 2, 3 goals, like that,
I genuinely think we have to get to a point at Tottenham where you just have to realize you don't drop Kane and Son. Bayern Munich don't sit there and go, oh, I think we'll drop Lewandowski today when they did have him, and just bring someone else in because he hasn't scored in 2 games. You don't see Real Madrid going, oh, do you know what? I think we'll drop Benzema today. You know what I mean? It just doesn't happen. You play your players through bad spells. Liverpool last season with Mane and Salah went through bad spells at a period each. You play through them. Your best players, you keep putting them out there. And that's the way it is across all top clubs. You just don't drop your best players.
Spot on.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. And we had that conversation last season as well when Sonny had, and then next game, there you go, world class again. So
exactly.
When he gets that goal, that's you just need that goal, and it's fine.
Yeah, that's all he needs. Look, I think he's struggling to adapt because last season he was allowed to get on the ball, turn at him, and that's where he kills teams. Now that he has that notoriety of punishing them for it, they get right up close to him. The only way you stop Son is get close to him when the ball's coming to him, keep his back to goal and force him backwards and challenge him physically. And that's where he's struggling right now. But once he gets that, because at the end of the day, that was always something you could probably aim at Sonny. Maybe not the most strongest, not good at holding up the ball. But now because of the levels he's got to, it's being highlighted a lot more. It's cost us to get a goal against Chelsea. It cost us a goal against Southampton, him losing the ball in them positions and being muscled out. But you allow that with Sonny, he'll get used to it, he'll adapt, and he'll come back and save our ass time and time again like he's done before.
Yeah, well said.
And that also, if we do drop him, then all of a sudden we lose the game or drop points. Oh, why didn't we play Sonny?
Yeah, spot on.
So,
absolutely spot on. Yeah. Well, look, Daniel, it's been a good conversation, my man. It's been a good one.
Yeah. Of course, always pleasure with you guys. So.
No, big yourself up.
Appreciate you, Daniel. Thanks for coming on, my man. Daddy Hoiberg, maybe he'll put in, a full 90, next time around, hopefully Emerson, at some stage, could convince you that he is here to stay, as much as that might give you a bit of pain. But we'll talk about that next time. Perhaps Friday, as the big preview, for, the game, everybody. We are going to have the second fan show this week now that things are sort of back to normal. So we hope to see you there Friday, my man.
Yeah. Just one thing with, of course, Harry Winks is still here.
Yeah.
And, of course, Nottingham Forest. Of course, Nottingham is Robin Hood area in it. So give to the poor, steal from the rich. Harry Winks, there you go. Give to the poor.
They're buying everybody right now, so who knows? They might just throw
Yeah,
a
they are
Winks in
kind of
there,
rich, aren't they?
just to do it. Who knows? You might be right.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, take care, guys.
See you, Daniel.
Appreciate it.
See you, my man. Big yourself up, brother. But look, let's keep this show on the road, guys. Let's keep it on the road. Yeah, big up, Daniel. Thank you for coming, my man. The bottom Duta says the reason we feel the need to play with 3 midfielders is because our midfielders are good but not great. Conte won the league with Kante and Matic because they were amazing. Need a centre back, sure, but a centre mid too.
I used to be a big fan of Nemanja Matic, I must say, to bottom Duta. I know what you mean. Like in his prime, Nemanja Matic was not only a ball-winning midfielder, but he was so graceful on the ball, really good in possession. And so I know what you mean. And also having that combination of Conte is sort of 2 really workhorse-like midfielders, next to each other that, one being really graceful and then the other one just being an absolute menace, in the case of Conte. And you could see how that was a winning partnership. Does Conte have a similar thing right now with Spurs? Maybe not to the same world-class level, I would say, that, he had in the time being of Matic and Conte, but I don't think he needs, 2 world-class midfielders, yet, in midfield to still make it work. In fact, I think he's making it work right now, Dave.
No, look, for me, first of all, I want to say I completely take the bottom Duta's point on board. But what I will say is, look, we spent money in midfield, since Pochettino, since the Mele Wanyama, brought in Højbjerg, Skipper's come through the ranks, brought in Bissouma, brought in Bentancur. Now, I'm not saying it wouldn't be nice to have another option, because it was. And I do think if you had a world-class midfielder, you'd probably dominate a lot of these games that we struggle against when people have more technical midfielders than what we do in midfield. But he also had a good defence at Chelsea. He's also had a good defence at Inter Milan. He also had a very good defence at Juventus. And the only money we haven't spent has been that backline. Look, since Toby and Jan Vertonghen have been deemed not good enough, we've had major problems there. We've had absolute major problems there. When Jan Vertonghen was out with his concussion and that under Jose Mourinho, we had Dyer, we had Sanchez, we had Davies step in. We went from Champions League finalists down to Europa Conference League. And that's because we could not keep goals out. Under Jose Mourinho, could not keep goals out. When Poch got sacked, could not keep goals out. Under Nuno, okay, we couldn't score goals, but we couldn't keep them out either. And for me, it's been a long neglected problem at Tottenham Hotspur. You've seen the benefit of having a good defence with Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld at centre-backs, commanding people at the backs, good in the air, very, very good on the football. We dominated a lot of the games we played because Toby Alderweireld had that passing ability where he could go 40 yards, 80 yards. Yeah. It did not matter. It landed at your feet. Jan Vertonghen could get on the ball. He could run with it. He could also pass. They could control the ball. They've done all the basics of defending spot on. And we need to get back to that level. Once we get back to that level and we keep teams out, we don't make mistakes. Because if we're being honest, we can blame the midfield all we want. But you can't legislate for them. You can't put it on them when Dyer's trying to play balls over the top. It's going straight back to Jose Sa. Same as Ben Davies going straight back. Sanchez kicking it straight back to the Wolves centre halves at times. What are the midfielders supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? You can't put the defensive errors and how bad they are on the ball to the midfield players. If we had defenders that could find their passes like Toby did, like Jan did, you'd see a much improved Tottenham. You'd see us dominate the game. In that first half, all we've done is give possession back to Wolves. That's why we're second best. But a lot of the possession we lost came from that defence. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. And, as well, to be fair, Bottom Duda has a good point with the three in the midfield, because I actually felt so much more solid once, Basuma came into that game, to shore up the midfield. It kind of feel like it kind of sealed the win for me to Bottom Duda once Basuma came onto the pitch that game against Wolves. It kind of felt, like I could take a breath, realized that there was a bit more of a compactness that we could go for, and we also probably found it easier then to break, because Wolves eventually had to kind of open themselves up a bit more, and it felt like they were by us having that three in the midfield. And I must say, because I know to Bottom Duda, he wants better midfielders in there. I would say with Basuma, I hope Basuma is going to get his chance soon, and I hope he really takes it, because we know that he is probably the highest talent ceiling, as well as probably one of the best just overall quality midfielders that we have. We just want him to display it to Bottom Duda when he gets that chance. And when he is given that chance, I think we might see that he is probably one of the perfect midfielders, for Conte. So maybe that extra center mid might not be needed if Basuma shows like his real quality and shows his real strengths. And where I actually think the necessary, kind of additions are, for me personally, to Bottom Duda, I'm kind of in Dave's point, a really good ball playing center back, as well as maybe a creative midfielder if you're able to find
Let
the
me ask
budget
you this,
for it.
Jack. Do you keep spending money on a midfield that you spent money on time and time and time again over the last few transfer windows? And I'm including Ndombele, Lascelles, people like that in it. Or do you actually spend money on a back line that you've only ever bought in Romero?
Yeah, it feels like the back line has sort of neglected, as much as people want to be sort of picky with the other positions around the field, whether it be forwards, midfielders, wing backs. We have invested heavily in those areas. Whether you disagree with how we've invested in it, Conte seems to be, for the time being, sort of satisfied with it, and he's making do with it, and he's playing those players that have been brought into those positions, whether you are dissatisfied or not. And to Dave's point, we haven't really invested enough, in the defense, at least when it comes to the center back line. Really, the only player that has been brought in has been Romero and I guess Longley. But is that really good enough, considering what we used to think, of Dyer and Davies in the past and Sanchez of the past? Definitely not. And just putting it in those terms definitely shows, I think, to me, Dave, that perhaps, the center back line, at least when it comes to transfers, at least when it comes to incomings over the years, has been maybe a bit neglected. Whereas the midfield and, other positions in the park, we have, tried, we have, brought in a lot of players, and, we are, doing our best there. Maybe it's not the, the best to some, fans. And I think that's totally okay. I think that's totally fine if they don't think, we've done the best in those areas, but we at least have invested for the most part in those areas. Whereas in center back, I agree with you. We really haven't, given it our best, effort, or we haven't really pulled the wallet out as much when it comes to the center backs.
And what I will also say as well is when it comes to these centre backs, all people talk about is the defensive side of the game, which, okay, they may say, okay, the defensive side of the game is not as bad as you're making out there. Now, I'll disagree, but I'll accept their opinion. But nobody wants to talk how atrocious they are actually on the football. Now, Jack, Conte wants this team to play out from the back. He is instructing Hugo Lloris to give it to the centre backs and for us to play out from the back. Now, I remember us screaming, absolute screaming in seasons gone by. We want Tottenham to play out from the back. We want to do this. We want to do that. And all we're doing is playing long ball football. Now, we can sit here and give out about that midfield in the first half all we want. Who gave away the ball? Who gave away the ball? People, and there's no argument with this, because people come and say to me, our midfielders couldn't even get on the ball. But of course they can't, when our defenders are giving it away. Davinson Sanchez kicking it long to Wolves players. Dyer straight back to Jose Sarr. Davies, so slow on the football, always turns back inside to give it to Dyer. And Mikel Arteta, if anybody goes and watches the Arsenal All for Nothing, what did he say in his team talk before the Spurs game? Once they make two cross passes across that back line, press them, they're in huge trouble. Now, if that's team talks that managers are giving their teams before we go out and play, it clearly shows to me that they know we have a problem technically wise trying to play the way we play underneath Conte with the defenders we have. So we can sit here and talk about the defensive side of the game all we want, but it's also impacting the way we try to play football. Now, you can blame the midfielders all you want, but you cannot put it on them for that back line putting long balls straight back to those players. You can't do it. It's absolutely insane, and I'm not having it.
Mm. And, to be fair, again, though, to the bottom due to Dave, I think we did look a lot more solid, though. We did bring, Basuma, towards the end of the game. It definitely secured the win. Big up to bottom dude. I appreciate the support, my man. Dark Sun G saying, let's enjoy Liverpool being at -1 goal difference, which I am doing right now. Dark Sun G, I know you're enjoying yourself as well. You're probably just kind of, doing a bit of people watching, just looking at, the out loud, wandering, about the place, kind of, pulling his hair out, maybe, kind of, maybe scrubbing the dishes, a bit too hard, just, I don't know, Dave, he's probably, even a bit concerned for the out loud. I bet he's not, behaving normally right now.
I would be. He's probably lying in bed now, Jack. He's got a headache, hot and cold sweats, asking Dark Sun G to run it with the cold flannel to cool him down. He's not used to these times. Liverpool fans aren't, Jack. They're not used to them whatsoever. So they're all in their sick bed right now.
No, definitely not. Big up, Dark Sun G. Philo123 Koi saying, can we get any strong links, or did we get any strong links to any players this week? At the moment, it's Malinovsky is probably the strongest, I would say. That's the one that you should maybe just probably, keep on your mind. Sergey, as much as we love big Sergey MilinkovicSavage, I would wait a bit on that one. I think we're going to have to, see if something else, comes in to, validate that further. But Malinovsky, he's liked a few Spurs posts, Philo, as well as he sort of rejected Marseille, who have had, sort of agreed terms, with Atalanta, but he has rejected them perhaps in favor for a move for Tottenham Hotspur. So that's something I would say just to keep your head around, just something to be aware of, Philo. Big up, my man, and appreciate the support. Dark Sun G says it was Moutinho in the first game, back after injury, plus his age was why he got subbed off early. Thank you, Dark Sun G. Didn't even know that. Let's also enjoy Blues being a -2 goal difference, which can be really fun to watch. I didn't even know that, Dark Sun G. And so I guess that sort of does explain Moutinho. But despite that, return from injury, he had a sensational game, as well as Nunez, as well as Neves. Sorry, excuse me. Had a sensational game. But, Dave, the Blues as well, not enjoying a good goal difference. And Dark Sun G, he knows how important the goal difference is.
Yeah, no, absolutely loving life. I mean, look, anytime Chelsea drop points, I mean, it's a huge plus for me. These are teams that we have to catch. These are teams that many fans say we haven't done enough in the window to be able to catch them. So, game's on. Let's see if we have. Let's get after it. They're dropping points. Let's keep winning.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And then lastly, Dark Sun G saying if Hitchin didn't bring in anything, we could have got, we wouldn't have got an A+ center back. We wouldn't have brought in an A+ center back had, Hitchin still been around.
Yeah, no, look, if Steve Hitchin was still here, I mean, look, his answer to the problem was bringing in Joe Rodon from the Championship. Look how that lasted. By the way, people also told me he's a good squad player. He's good enough to be here. At the end of the day, once we spend, ask yourself, if Tottenham were to go out and spend money on that back line, centre back, another left sided centre back, someone else compete with Romero on the right side of centre back, would any of them other players be anywhere near this team? Ask yourself. The answer is no.
Moving on, though, we're going to keep going into the next guest. Big up, Dark Sun G. Really appreciate the support, my man. And just making sure I get the order right here. We just finished off with Daniel. Now we're moving on to our guy out in Poland. And I'm looking forward to Michael. Haven't seen him in a while. It's good to speak with him.
I'm just going to the toilet. I'll be back in 1 second.
No worries. Michael, how you keeping?
Yes, hello. I'm fine. Just watch this splendid, display of
So
Manchester United
for us, right?
Yeah.
We scraped by with 1-0. We were the first game of the weekend, so I bet you were probably thinking, not my favorite way to start a weekend. Not the easiest of games, but after scraping by 1-0, we saw everybody else struggle.
Yeah. That it's in general, it's been a strange week in Premier League. Like pretty much every match out there was really something special. Like even the maybe some results that some people would expect didn't go as they expected exactly, right? Like Villa got smashed at Selhurst Park, and I necessarily didn't expect Villa to win, but didn't expect them to get absolutely obliterated. Like and that was one of the most casual matches. The rest of them, bloody hell, like it was a spectacle this week.
What did you make of in the case of the Wolves game? Then we'll get on to maybe the meaning of that win, with how everybody else has folded. Anything that has been said tonight, that's caught your ear? A lot of people, they feel like we just need to move on. Some people are a bit worried that we're not starting off first halves well. Any concerns or any takeaways from that Wolves game that maybe we should think about? Because I know, Michael, you usually have good takeaways.
Yeah, so how should I put it? Like, I'm before I say anything, I first thing to say is that I'm really happy with the results that we are getting, and I'm happy that the team and the coaching staff can react to things that are happening in the game, right? Because like there have been plenty of games in the previous season where something wasn't going our way, and Conte looked at the bench and he's like didn't have pretty much anything to do. Like he could change like for like personnel wise on the pitch, but he couldn't like change anything tactically. He wasn't resorting to 4-2-4s and 3-5-2s. Both formations we already saw this season. So that being said, I don't want to say that I'm worried necessarily with the performances. I'm worried with how should I put it? I just feel like there is I don't know if you guys will agree, but there is that kind of like lack of energy, in my opinion, in
In
our
first halves.
performances right now. Yeah, especially in first halves. But you know, let me like put it this way. So we played against Chelsea, right? And Chelsea absolutely fucking schooled us. Let's not like kid ourselves. They absolutely blew us apart tactically, right? They were a lot more energetic. They were pressing us high up the pitch. They were like, they also showed us how a proper wing back system should be played, right? As soon as Kulu was getting the ball, instantly Koulibaly and Cucurella on his ass. As soon as Son was getting the ball, James and Loftus-Cheek on his ass, right? Immediately, right? They didn't let us play through the wings. And whenever ball got to the middle of the pitch, or to Bentancur and Højbjerg, immediately Mount and Kante, Mount and someone else, immediately like high pressure, pair, like 2 against 1 always, right? So and I look at this, then I look at how Leeds absolutely ripped them apart yesterday, right? They pretty much did what they did to us, right? As soon as any of the slow Chelsea center backs were getting the ball, immediately 2 people on them, like sitting on their ass, not letting them play. And then I look at our backline, consisted of like Dyer, Davies, and Sanchez right now. And I see that, and like honestly, I would fear playing Leeds right now. As stupid as it sounds, I would prefer playing against like City or Liverpool, because I feel like they don't put as much energy into that pressing. They are really like doing it well, but of course, right now Liverpool is a mess, in my opinion.
Almost
right?
like they had that extra
Yeah.
adrenaline, Leeds. And
Yeah.
even today we saw with Man United, they had that adrenaline.
Yeah.
We saw with Brentford, they had that extra adrenaline. It's almost like these smaller teams are coming at it with, that extra bit of, something that maybe.
Yeah, but let's
tangible.
Like Leeds played this way, Newcastle played this way, Arsenal are playing this way. There are plenty of teams that play like this really high energy, like up your face football. And I feel like this will be our Achilles heel this season. I'm honestly kind of afraid that there will be certain matches where we are pressed heavily, and what
Michael,
it doesn't.
why do you
Yeah,
think we don't play this high press, high energy football?
That's honestly a bit like confusing to me, because that's why I started by saying that I feel like we are a bit slow, and I'm not sure if it's like because of the like heavy preseason that our players got, that maybe they are just tired. Maybe that's it, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like like I don't know how to put it. I just feel like our players are maybe not that physical. Not all players have to run. Like full throttle. Not every player can do that, right? So maybe I feel like we can like play in the other way, like soak up pressure and hit opposition on the counter, right? But without Romero, without his quality on the ball, I am a bit like skeptical about like how well we can do that, because Like, if our backline consisted of Romero, Skriniar, and Bastoni, for example, all of them are brilliant on the ball, all of them, are press resistant, then fuck yeah, just play a counter attacking football, because I wouldn't be afraid when Romero has like someone running towards him. He will just skin past him and, skin him and pass the ball to the midfield, and suddenly, we just bypassed one line of enemy of opposition attack, right? But with that backline that we have currently, I'm a bit worried. That all that being said, as I said, I'm really happy with the results that we got, and I'm backing the team. I'm not saying like fuck Sanchez, fuck Højbjerg, they shouldn't be playing for our team. That's not what I'm saying here. I'm just saying that I feel like we have to be really focused and really on point with our game to survive those games, right? Because
go
on, David.
Sorry. Know why I think we don't press, right? You got to trust your backline to press. If a team plays through your press, right, they're straight on your backline. Now, Man City and Liverpool and their managers, they trust their backline. The reason why we have not pressed since Pochettino is Pochettino instructed our players to press because he trusted Jan Vertonghen, he trusted Toby Alderweireld to be able to deal with one-on-one situations, to be able to deal with players coming at them. When you look at why we haven't pressed since Pochettino, okay, Jose Mourinho is not the most, he does like sitting back and parking in the bus, but he's not also stupid or naive to know there's no point in pressing when his backline consists of Davies and Sanchez or Dyer and Sanchez because they're not good enough to withstand people running at them. Same as Nuno, same as Conte. They are not going to instruct. And people say, oh, it's because Kane and Son can't press. But they've done it under Pochettino for 4 years.
They are a bit older, right? But they can press. They have enough energy. But what do you achieve by Kane and Son pressing when and Kulu pressing, for example, when Royal and Cesc are sitting back because they have to cover our backline, right? Like the art of pressing is working as a team. It's not one person running towards one of the defenders because, as I said, the defender skins him and suddenly you are like 1 line behind after, you are 1 line after the ball, right? So, you have to do it as a team. And I feel like we just don't have like a personal and good enough defense to risk pressing because pressing is a really risky tactic, right? It's way less risky to sit back and try to hit on the counter. Just for obvious reason, you are defensive, you are compact. You flat your own box, and then you can hit the opposition on the counter attack. You can just do 3 quick passes, and suddenly you release Sonny like 1v1 against a defender. That's great, right? The only problem is that I just feel like there is like this something missing. Like if we had a better right wing back, like I honestly feel like if Doherty comes back, we will see an improvement. I know that many people don't like him. I know that he has his frailties like defensively and all that stuff, right? But I feel like what he does is he's kind of like more aggressive than Royal, because Royal is a really good defender, but he's a passive defender. He waits for someone to try to dribble past him, then he like takes the ball away or something, right? Doherty, I feel like him and Kulu could provide that aggressiveness that Cesc or Perisic with Son could on the left, because when we played against Wolves, like most of their attacks came from the left side. At least I feel like most of their attacks came from their left side, so our right side, right where Royal was. And that's also not like, I'm not saying that Royal is all at fault for that game, because he's not. He played his part, we won, and that's good, right? But I just realized I sound really negative or whatever, but it's just like my concern. It's not that I'm getting down over it. I'm still can't.
I would just say, Michael, what would you say if I told you that Doherty played as a right wing back in that game that we lost 2-0 to Wolves? He started in that game. And, I know maybe you could say because Winks was there, but, at the same time, Doherty did play in that game, and he would have played alongside Sanchez, similar to how Emerson played alongside Sanchez, and so he would have been under similar circumstances. And to say that he would have done really well, I think, he would have struggled like he did last time. And when he did play last time against them in those sort of circumstances that Royal was coming up against, he did lose 2-0.
Yeah, as much as that's true, I would also like the main blame I put on that game against Wolves last season is Lloris. Like as much as I love him, he basically fucked up with both goals, right? Because like
Yeah, but I
against
think we were still going to
for the-
lose with the way that we were playing. I know Dave was even
I
there, himself.
you know
But yeah.
as I remember that game as like in the second half we were actually quite good. We just
But we were
because
already
we
2-0
didn't,
down.
yeah, but we are already 2-0 down. So Wolves could pack the box and not allow us to play, right? If Hugo didn't make those two mistakes and we came out of the first half with a 0-0 scoreline, then I feel like this game that game would have panned out the same way that this one did. Because it was the same thing, right? The Wolves controlled the game in the first half, but then they got a bit tired. They hate to make substitution because as good as Moutinho is, he's like 36 or whatever. So he can't sustain 90 minutes of like this high energy football, right? So
Let me
I
ask
feel
you this, Michael. Let me
yeah,
ask you this about Emerson and Doherty. Now, Emerson's been here a good season. Doherty's been here 2 years. Who's had more of an impact on this Spurs team, Doherty or Emerson? And let's remember, Doherty only had 6 good games underneath Conte last season. Before that, he was absolutely crap. He was on the bench most weeks behind
Yeah.
Emerson. He's still on the bench now that he's fully recovered. And when he played, we were down in Europa Conference League. When Emerson comes in, we're in the Champions League. Plus, I watched this guy for Ireland. I've been watching him for Ireland longer than what he's been at Tottenham Hotspur.
yeah,
The difference between Emerson and Doherty, in my opinion, going forward, Doherty always has to pass it inside and receive it on the out and receive it running in behind. Emerson will and tries to take on his man, and that's the biggest difference in that wing-back situation going forward, in my opinion. And people don't tell me otherwise. I've watched this guy for Ireland. I've watched him for Wolves coming through because I wanted him to come through and do well because I needed a problem fixed for Ireland with Coleman getting on. But just hasn't done it. So I don't want anyone to tell me that this guy is good going forward or that he's good. In all honesty, he's timing
Especially when he's comparing him to Seamus Coleman. I mean, yeah, that's
he's timing an Ireland jersey and he's timing a Tottenham jersey. 10 good games over the course of how long I've watched him.
yeah. I agree because like okay, let me start by saying this. Honestly, I would want both of them gone. I would prefer us to bring like a really good right wing back. Like people say about buying a center midfielder, or for me, right wing back is still a priority. I feel like if I were to put it in order, I would first bring a center back, then right wing back, then center mid. Like if we sorted those two positions first, then fine, get a center mid, right? But out of those two, I will agree that probably Royal had a bigger impact because he's better defensively than Doherty, right? But I don't know honestly. Like I just want us to play.
I've thrown spanner in the works
Well,
there.
tell me this.
Yeah.
So, do you want to see
I-
Jed Spence? Do you want to see Jed Spence then?
Yeah,
Maybe try it out
honest-
against his former club.
Honestly, I would. Like, I know that I've came here plenty of times and said that I'm not really excited by that signing, and that I wanted us to do something more, and I wanted us to bring a better player, someone of established quality, and all that stuff, right? But at this point, I would want to see Spen just for the sake of seeing him, like just for the sake of giving him a chance,
he's
and
like, yeah.
seeing, yeah. But unfortunately, I just have this weird feeling that just because it wasn't a Conte signing, that Conte like will do it literally just to show that it wasn't my signing. I'm not going to play that guy because you didn't like bring someone who I wanted or whatever, right? I just have a feeling that Spence really like he will have a hard time getting minutes this season, in my opinion. And that's not necessarily something that I agree on with Conte. I feel like if you have a tool at your disposal, you should use it, right? Because like or maybe all that being said, maybe Conte is satisfied with Emerson's performances and he wants to keep him in the team. If that's the point, then sure, go for it. He's the manager. He has like light years more experience than any of us here combined, right? All the chorus ahead of and behind of me, you guys combined, everyone online, he has better experience than all of us combined. So, I trust him. And I'm looking forward to the game against Forest, because I actually feel like Chelsea and Wolves are really tough opposition, and maybe people don't give them enough credit. And I know that Chelsea got battered this like yesterday, but it doesn't matter, because when they see like that cock on the shirt, they go apeshit and try to like put on their best performances. So for some reason, I don't know why, why do they do that to us? Like, can they perform against Arsenal and give us a chance? Because I bet you when they play Arsenal, they will bend over and let them absolutely rip them apart. I know that maybe Arsenal's style fits playing against Chelsea, but still, it's also a London derby against your second biggest rival or whatever, right? So why don't they perform that much? But it is what it is.
I asked that tactical question earlier, Michael, and I kind of want you to answer it, where, I said against Chelsea, we came up against two midfielders and also a manager that loves to dominate possession, loves to dominate the tempo of the game. Similar thing, with Wolves, with Bruno Lage's, combination of Joao Moutinho and Ruben Neves. Now we're coming up against Forest. It feels like, that might not be the case as much, where we'll be seeing Forest, pinging passes left and right, with complete accuracy, and a guy just running the show. Might be a different game than Chelsea and Wolves was.
Listen, guys, I am fully aware that we should go to Forest and absolutely destroy them. That's the level that we are at, right?
I don't know if destroy them. I might push back there. I think we need to destroy them. I think we should be comfortable, but it doesn't need to be 4-0. Okay. It could be 2-0 and we could be comfortable.
Yeah, maybe I overdid it with destroy, but I don't want to be stressed during that game. I want us to go there, and I want from the minute one to be sure that we are winning. 1-0, 2-0, whatever, 2-1, just win this game, right? Not something strange like them scoring first and us sitting on edge for 80 minutes waiting for Kane miracle to happen again, right? So and honestly, before that, I also have to big up Bruno Lage. Bruno, I think his name is Bruno, right? The Wolves manager. I think that. Yeah, no. I want seriously, I wanted to pick him up because I feel like he's extremely underrated, and he's a good coach, and he's good tactically. He is managing Wolves, and up until their collapse in the previous season, they were doing really great. Scraping wins 1-0, but that's sometimes what you have to do, right? If we remember that season when Liverpool went on that undefeated run of what it was 27 games unbeaten or something, they were scraping wins 1-0, 2-1, scoring last minute goals. So that's sometimes what you have to do, and I'm happy with the result that we got against Wolves, because if you want to win something, it's not always has to be pretty, right? Under Poch in 16-17 season when we got 86 points, we sometimes played brilliant football and drew game 3-3 or something mad like this. You have to sometimes be resolute and be stable, right? And and tactically, I do believe that Conte would sort it out. And I was speaking with my bro about the Chelsea and Spurs situation after Chelsea got smashed, right? And he said that he really doesn't like Tuchel, by the way. I wouldn't want to say what he calls him, because that might get you demonetized, guys. So, but but he says that he sees that there is a huge problem in that team, and he isn't feeling assured in any way that it will get better. Whereas he said that when he watches Spurs, he knows that the performance against them and against Wolves wasn't the best, but he knows that we will get better. He knows the potential of this team, and let's look at the previous season. We weren't doing great in January and February, and suddenly we went on that mad fucking run, and we're sweeping teams away. And I believe that there is this potential waiting to happen in this team, right? So I'm not necessarily worried that we will start losing games left, right, and center, and it will all collapse. Like, let's face it, the biggest loss that we got against with Conte managing was, I feel, like 2-0. Like, we never conceded more than like 2 goals difference, right? Because like we conceded 3 goals against, I feel, United and Southampton, and those are the only 2 games where we conceded 3.
Yeah.
Like, he really improved that defense, and as much as we can like bang on about Sanchez being average, Dyer being average, Davies being average, and I would gladly like change all 3 of them. I feel like we are still kind of like solid in that department. As much as as much as I want to bitch about that backline, right? And as much as I would also want to us to change the right wing back, as much as I would probably want us to bring a center attacking midfielder just for the sake of having that guy in our team. I feel like there is like a lot of potential in this team, and I'm really happy watching them. Like, even if it's stressing me out, I'm really happy watching that team. And also, one thing I want to add is, like, this is already and will be even more a mad season. Like, already you can Liverpool with 2 points after 3 games. Like, who would ever predict that, right?
Yeah.
Like Chelsea being 14 for whatever they are, I think 14 for 13th after three games. City dropping points to Newcastle. Like, there is much shit happening this season. So I feel like no one is stable right now. And actually, when you look at us, we are kind of stable.
Flying under the radar, in fact. Looking stable. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever they say, we move in silence, right? We move in silence.
That's exactly it. I think we are moving in silence and moving powerfully. Spot on.
Yeah.
We got to keep this moving, Michael. We've still got 4 guests left to go, my man.
Yeah, of course.
Great talking point, style. A lot of people agreeing with you in the comments.
The show, Michael. Like a Ruben Neves ran the midfield. You ran the show, my man.
By the way, what a player he is! What a player he is! Oh my god!
Yeah, he's good.
We'll speak to you soon. Hopefully Friday if you're available. But if not, we'll catch you very soon, Michael. And like always, fantastic things to say, and we do appreciate you coming on and for your patience as well, brother.
Yeah, keep up the faith, guys. Keep up the faith. We can do some mad shit this season. I believe that. I said it last season, and I will bang on until it's not possible. We can do something mad this season. I feel like it.
I love that. I'm the same. I'm the same with Michael. We'll see you again soon, my man.
Goodbye, guys. Bye.
See you, Michael. Big up, my man. Big up. Everybody loved a bit of Michael. The people really engaging what you had to say.
He speaks the truth. The truth. He speaks with honesty. I think Michael, he's not afraid of you or I, Dave. He wants to give his say in, wants to, challenge, kind of the narrative. He's also really good with tactical questions, I think, Michael, too. So, really had a lot of good things to say. Big up Michael in the chat, everybody.
I do want to take one quick comment. I've seen someone in the comment earlier on put, Chelsea have Ampadu and someone else as the backups. Well, I mean, of course they do. The whole backline got ripped apart over the course of the summer. But last season, were they anywhere near the team? No, not really. Shaloba was in there for a couple of games. Apart from that, they were absolutely nowhere near the team. So to compare yourself to a Chelsea team who have lost more or less their whole backline, I'm not having it. I mean, it's just, honestly, I'm not having it. And in order for us to get stronger, should we be comparing to what other people have as backup? No. In order for us to get stronger, you just realize your weaknesses, you go and fix it, and you move on. Just because Chelsea don't have it, even though the whole backline got ripped apart, doesn't mean Tottenham shouldn't have it. No. Chelsea's had it for years. Chelsea's had it for years. The first time they've gone into the
weakest it's ever looked. Yeah. This is the weakest it's ever looked. Right on, Dave. Philo123, big up, my man. Really appreciate your support. And Dyer, Davies, and Sanchez, they don't like being pressed when on the ball. This needs to be addressed. Long Lane Romero, the only players capable when being pressed. And Dave just brought this up, Philo, earlier, Dave, or Philo. Dave brought this up earlier, and I'm pretty sure you probably agreed where, even Lego Man of all people, Lego Man, is able to see, that the center backs of Spurs can be taken advantage of when they are pressed, when they are in possession. You could say, you feel like you're, solid with them defensively. You might think that, what they can give you a good performance, they can get you clean sheets, but in possession, they are, questionable and they are shaky, from time to time, if not somewhat often. And I feel like, that's where teams are taking advantage of us. And Dave has, practically said this till he's gone blue in the face. But I think Philo is, bringing up a really good point, and he's putting it really efficiently here, which is just that maybe they're solid, those three, but in possession, it's a different story, and in possession, they're not really the players that, we can rely on, because when we are pressed by the likes of Arsenal, Leeds, Chelsea, etc., these guys can put us in bad positions when we're trying to build out the back, when we're trying to get the ball into our midfielders. Absolutely, Philo. And again, kind of similar to Joseph from earlier, this is kind of a statement I, want to put up on the fridge, I would say, Philo. Absolutely spot on.
Absolutely spot on. I mean, look, everyone knows how I feel. Everyone knows how I feel. You can sit there and give me all these clean sheet stats you want, but then you don't want to acknowledge that they're against relegation teams, which I expect my backline to keep clean sheets against 10 teams. No one ever wants to talk about these guys and how they are in possession. Mikel Arteta said, after 2 passes, press them. So basically what he's saying, if Tottenham don't play long ball football, they will pass themselves into trouble. They'll panic being under pressure. They'll miscontrol the ball, and they kick the ball straight back to you. That's basically what Mikel Arteta's message is.
Yeah, big up, Philo. Really appreciate the support, my man. We're going to keep moving on. Just going to make sure I have the chat, or, the order, correct. And we're moving on to our man, THFC Till I Die. Moving on to Big Dermot. Dermotron in the house. Good to see you, Dermot.
Good evening, lads. And how are we on this lovely Monday evening?
Look, first of all, I want to make this clear. I'm absolutely buzzing Tottenham won. Tottenham winning is what gives me a hard on every single weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy it. But just because we won, I'm still not going to be naive to things. I'm not going to sit there after the transfer window closed and go, oh, guys, I'm after stumbling across something. 4 years later, I'm after stumbling across something. Oh, our defense isn't good enough. But when I talk about it before the window closed, when we can do something about it, people don't like it. And then they say your agenda, you've got negative, but don't want to talk about the 90% of other positive things I talk about. I want to make it clear, I'm buzzing after the result on the weekend.
So am I. We've got 2 wins and a draw, no defeats.
7 points that we had 0 points in the past from.
If somebody said to me at the start of the season, would you take 7 points after the first 3 games, I would have ripped my hand off for it, to be fair. Yeah. You can look back to last season, 3 wins out of 3, but we had a crap manager.
We lost this fixture 2-0 at home last time. Dermot, they won 2-0 away from home, Wolves.
I know.
Last time out.
This season, we're not playing great. Let's not kid ourselves. We're not playing brilliant, but we're picking up points. Yeah. Which is the most important thing. And also, to a question that has been asked tonight, why did we play slow in the first half? I think because the season has started early. If you look back through the years of the Premier League, we're only on the second weekend of the Premier League roundabout now. So, we would have had another pre-season. We'd have had an extra time for training. And I think everything's been consensed because of the World Cup.
Yeah.
So, look. We've got 7 points. We'll go away to Nottingham Forest, which the last time we played them on the 28th of August, I actually put this in the private chat because I actually found it tonight when I was waiting to come on. Last time we played them on this date, we beat them 3-1. So we can do it. We can get points. We can beat Forest. We can beat West Ham.
Well, it's not even we can, Dermot. Surely, it's a given. We no excuses. You got to be beating Forest. You want to win trophies. You want to win league titles. You've got to be beating Forest.
You've got to go away with the confidence that before you get there, we can beat these teams. We can go there and roll over. Look, everyone needs to calm down. Everyone's getting too excited. But Dave, I agree with you. Our defence, Sanchez and Dyer. Please do not get me started on them because they are a problem. Sanchez may have had a good game Saturday. He nearly caused the goal at one point when the ball came off the back of his neck. Didn't know where it was. We have to get an upgrade, but I'm sure the Don is on the job. He's looking around. We will get an upgrade before the end of the transfer window. But, I'm like you, I'm buzzing. We're second in the league. Third in the league, sorry. 7 points. Arsenal's going to fall off the edge soon. What a better time to be a Spurs fan. Man United are in trouble. Liverpool are in trouble. Chelsea are useless. Hey. West Ham are bottom of the league. Brilliant. Tottenham are going to win the league. Spurs are on the way up. What a better time to be a Spurs fan.
And Dermot, with Forest, coming up, that's, a game that could end up being tough. Do you feel like, you'll be happy again? Let's say, Spurs just get 3 points. Will you feel like, Spurs yet again, showing that, they can get points, even if they don't play their best?
I want this Sunday to put a marker down.
Okay.
I think we have to put a marker down. Somewhere along the line, we're going to give a team a hammering. We're just going to click.
I think
it could happen this weekend. Nottingham Forest has not been easy. We have history with Forest. We beat them in an FA Cup final in 91. We lost in the League Cup final in 92, I think, in the semi-final. So we have history with Forest. We bought Teddy Sheringham from Forest. So we've had history with that team. But we've got to go there Sunday, have 4, come onto that pitch. We're gonna roll you over. We're a better team, a stronger team, and we're going for the title. We're going to roll you over because we have to pick up the points now while the other big teams above us are dropping theirs. This is our time now. We have to pick up as many points as we can now while they're dropping theirs.
Could not agree more. Do you think Conte would be maybe looking to make a few changes for the Forest game, potentially maybe keeping one eye on wrestling a few players for the West Ham game away?
I would put Richarlison in for Sonny just for resting purposes. Though Sonny hasn't been playing well, I think a rest might do him the world of good. I think Richarlison is chomping at the bit to get on and play. Hopefully Romero's back for that. Then drop Sanchez. That would just make my day complete. I'm just leaving him in the hotel in London somewhere, telling him the bus is going an hour later than what it is, so he can miss the bus. And I think keep the same team. I think put Basuma in for Bentancur as well, because I think Holberg has been one of our best players in the first few games this season. I think he's been immense. Bentancur was good in the last game, but I think if Bentancur rests, get Basuma in there, and put Perisic in for Segi, because for me, Perisic was the man of the match against Wolves. He came on and he changed the game for us.
Do you think since Perisic has got here, he's really highlighted maybe Reguilon's deficiencies down that side, even Session's deficiencies down that side, and what we should expect from a player in that position?
Yeah, definitely. We were weak down the left and right side. I mean, it proved the point last season we were playing Doherty on that left side, and he's a right-sided defender. So it shows we needed upgrading, and we have upgraded. Though I agree with Conte, we have to be careful with Perisic. He has had bad injuries before, so we've got to use him wisely. But he's brilliant in the squad. You can see him talking to Son. You can see him on the touchline. You can see him talking to Segi. You can see him talking to Holberg, revving the players up. Come on, this isn't good enough. You need to be here. You need to be there. And I think that's rubbing off on Holberg and Bentancur as well. You can see Holberg during the Wolves game second half shouting at players, going to that position. Why you're not there? Holberg is like our Graham Roberts. And that's Philip Brady brilliantly said that to me the other night.
Praise.
And he's right. Romero is our Dave Mackay.
Yeah,
and
he is.
Holberg is our Graham Roberts. He really is. And with Bentancur and with Basuma in that midfield, we have probably one of the strongest midfielders, 3 in the league. If not, in the top 4, apart from Man City and Liverpool, we probably have the next strongest 3 midfielders. And I think on their day, they're as good as anybody.
By calling Højbjerg, like similar to, a Graham Roberts, in the team, do you feel like, or even kind of Steve Perryman even ask, with kind of the attitude and, like the work rate, and the leadership skills, with Højbjerg, do you feel like, Højbjerg is not given enough credit for just his ball winning skills, Dermot, like just not even his passing, but his ability just to win the ball and be able to win possession for us? Sometimes I feel like it's overlooked.
I do. Look, I haven't been his biggest fan. I will put my hands up and say I haven't been Holberg's biggest fan. But from the middle of last season, when Conte came in until now, I can't rave enough about the man. For me, he has been top notch. And I don't know if it's been with Ellie, doing the channel with Ellie. She's rubbing off on me or whatever. But I honestly think Holberg is a future captain of the team. See, with these teams, Dave and Jack, you would agree with me. You shouldn't have just one captain on the field. You should have 11 captains or 5 or 6 players that are captains.
Well, you should have leaders. You should have leaders right throughout the spine of your team.
Yeah.
You should have a centre midfield who's not afraid to speak. You should have a centre back who's not afraid to speak. You should have a goalkeeper who's roaring at the back line who's not allowed to speak, and you should have someone up in the forward areas who's not afraid to speak. But that's happening. We have a leadership group. Højbjerg is a part of that leadership group.
Yes.
But when I never hear anybody talk about it ever.
No. I mean, you look back to the 80s, we had a spine through that team. We had Ray Clements, Steve Perryman, Paul Miller, Graham Roberts, even Archibald and Crooks up front. They were all captains, even Ozzy were all captains of the team. And we have it now, even Skippy. Skippy is another future captain of our side. There's another player that will shout and roar at players. And I think it's a good thing. I think that comes from the manager. Conte was like that as a player, so he's now bringing it on to the manager. And long may it continue. I'm just really, really excited about this season. We're on the verge of something special.
I agree.
Big up
I sorry, Dave. Go on. Sorry.
No, I'm just going to say I completely agree. I mean, look, and I've said this time and time again, I think whatever we may lack in quality towards maybe Liverpool or Man City, I think Conte will make up with his management. I think he's that good. Big up Arnie Anderson. Big up, brother. And he also says,
Woo!
Finally got my membership. Hello, everyone. Big up, Arnie. Well, look, my man, we are ending off very, very shortly, but hopefully we see you this Friday. Come on and have your say, brother. Big yourself up, Arnie.
Big up. Grab that Black Cat membership. Big up, Arnie.
Welcome to the Irish Hotspur.
I just want to say one more thing before I go, Dave. These fans that are saying, is it a trophy, or if we get top 4, it's not a successful season. If we get top 3, let's all be honest. Top 4 is the priority of any season for us. A cup can go your way. The League Cup's more easier to win than an FA Cup. But with Conte in charge, every game we'll go into, we will win, because we have the mentality from the manager, from the coaches, from the players. We have a winning mentality. We have a manager who's a World Cup final player for Italy. We have coaches. We have players coming in that have won something. Yeah. We will be more successful than any team in history. And we can go above the Super Spurs of the 60s, and we will. And, I'm very confident of that. And long may it continue, because I'm 45 and I haven't been this excited. I feel like a teenager again supporting this team now. Yeah,
because it's exciting times. There's no doubt about that. I mean, look, we have City's number. We can compete with Liverpool. We can sort of compete with Chelsea now. You're going to have to play one of them in a quarter-final, a semi-final, or final to pick up a domestic now anyway. Top 4 should be minimum. When they're under Conte, he's not a loser. So it will be. It's that simple.
And come on the Lily Whites, because we're on the march. The mighty Tottenham Hotspur are marching home with loads of trophies in their hands, and long may it continue.
100%. Well, look, Dermot, why don't you give the old channel a plug, brother?
Yeah, we're 1 year old tomorrow. I'm really chuffed, and yeah, everyone please come over and subscribe. And like we did a Gary Mabbott special last night by Isan, the pupil under the great man above me, the stats man, who's the stats man of all of YouTube. His pupil is, and he done a brilliant job last night with Ellie and Mark Cousins. We're doing Golden Games this week. Tomorrow it's a special. I don't know what game we're showing. We're going to do previews and post-match shows for the league games. We're going to do a Champions League special this week with the draw, and transfer deadline day. We're going to do something most of the day as well. So exciting times ahead for the channel, but I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you two. You gave me the confidence to come on to the first show probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. And you were very positive when I set up the Twitter page. Jack came up with the original name to start off with. That's a year old tomorrow too. So thank you to everyone who's subscribed, who's followed me, and who's helped. And also thanks to you two, because I couldn't do it without the support of you two above. So I'm really grateful and thankful.
Love you, Dermot. So many good faces over there. So many familiar faces. over on THFC till I die. You have Izhan, as we know, he's an absolute genius. You have Philip, the Godfather, who features there. We have Ellie, the queen of the Højbjerg army as well, featured there. Then you have the historian, the librarian, of all Spurs history in the case of Dermot. So many good familiar faces over on THFC till I die. Pretty good starting lineup, if you ask me, with all those names I mentioned. So I would say show them the support.
To be fair, Jack, it's not just me, it's everyone else on the channel. They deserve more the credit than I do. They're the people that help me, and you two as well. So please, everyone, like and subscribe here, because these lads deserve it.
Appreciate that, my man. Appreciate that. Well, Dermot, hopefully I'll be speaking to you tomorrow at some stage, my man.
Oh, we will, sir. And I sort the Mining Games out tickets this week for you as well, so I'll be in touch with her. And by the way, about my car, Dave, it's actually gone to car heaven.
No, I told you.
It did, yeah. It did.
And
I went on the bus today, and it's the same. The bus was the same make of the car, and the bus broke down. So I'm bloody cursed when it comes to Fords.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Well, look, Dermot, we'll see you soon, brother.
See you soon. Take care.
Big up, you Spurs. Come on, you Spurs. Absolutely love that. Big up, Dermot. Got the super chat from the bottom dude, and then we've got Ryan Trestain to come on, which I'm really excited about. The bottom dude says, agree with David that our backline is poor and limits our ability to play from the back. However, our midfield is equally poor. Liverpool lost today because of a bad midfield. Definitely need a centre back, but another centre mid won't hurt. Look, I get what you're saying. I'm not going to sit here and deny it. I get what you're saying. But when we brought in Bentancur last season and put him in beside Højbjerg, look at the difference it made.
Yeah.
Our midfield is not as poor as many people think it is.
I think equally.
Take yourself back to when we had Winks in midfield, Lo Celso, Ndombele. You have to remember, and you look across all the top teams in Europe, they all have a player like Højbjerg in there. It's not just Tottenham, But look at the improvement Bentancur made when he came here. And I'm not one for settling on things. I believe you should always be looking to improve, 1,000%. But we've spent money on that position. We haven't neglected it. We have neglected that back line. Now, look, what will solve all the problems is if we brought in one of each, centre midfielder / cam and a centre back. But if I had the option, it had to be one or the other. I'm going with a world-class defender. I'm world-class with ball at his feet. It makes the biggest difference in the world. I'm telling you, look, like I said, you cannot keep blaming that midfield for Sanchez kicking the ball back to Wolves in the first half, Dyer kicking the ball back to the goalkeeper, Davies trying to play over the ball tops and it's going out for goal kicks. How's that the midfield's fault? When they did go looking for the ball, because it's so slow from coming out, they're marked. The whole Wolves team push up. It's a bit like what Arteta said. 2 passes, everybody push up, get man for man, and Tottenham will give you the ball back. Now, if Arteta's realising that and that is team talk, we haven't spent any money in the summer to upgrade that position, and we're still seeing some of the same problems we've seen last season. And let's remember, last season, people were blaming the wing-back for results like when we were sitting back and we weren't able to break teams down. But no one wanted to talk about us passing it left to right for 40 minutes, taking 8 touches to do it. This defence is a bigger problem than what people will ever want. I get people might see Dyer as a cult hero, Davies as a cult hero, Sanchez as a cult hero. But let that not blind you, and let that not make you put deficiencies into other players further up the pitch, who, may I add, have always performed well since they've been here.
Yeah. To bottom Duda, you have a very smart tactical mind. And so I think I'm just going to be honest and just say, I just think, I'm going to have to disagree. As much as I think, you have a very smart way of looking at things, I'm just going to have to be honest with you. I don't want to, cater and, say that I agree. I kind of just disagree. I think especially if you're saying it's equally poor, I think that's really harsh, honestly, to Højbjerg and Bentancur and Skip and Basuma. I mean, 4 names I just mentioned there. To say those 4 are as equally poor as Dyer, Sanchez, and Davies. And you don't hear me saying Dyer, Sanchez, and Davies are average. I don't really use harsh words to describe, those 3. Dave, me. I don't really just. I don't. But just to vouch for myself here and to vouch for the bottom Duda, I don't call those 3 players average. But I hear Spurs fans calling Højbjerg, calling Bentancur, calling etc. average. And it's like, if you're going to call those 2 average, then you're going to have to call the back line average. I think it's just by the same property, by the same metric then of, your seeing eye. So I think you're being a bit harsh there if you ask me to bottom Duda. But then again, you have a really smart tactical mind, and you could probably prove me wrong at some stage. But I think saying it's equally as poor as Dyer, Sanchez, and Davies, I think that's really harsh to Højbjerg, as well as Bentancur and Basuma and Skip. And also considering Højbjerg was our best midfielder in the season that Jose got sacked and Ryan Mason came in. Højbjerg was our best midfielder that season. So to say he was as poor as Sanchez and Dyer that same season, again, would be, I think, kind of harsh, to Højbjerg. But that's just me. And, I know me, DeBottom Dude, I have my Højbjerg glasses on. And the moment you challenge my big PEEH, I'm going to be coming at you full Viking style. Big up to DeBottom Dude.
Look, I can see maybe where the bottom dude is, someone like the bottom dude is coming from, where it's like, you look at the ball played midfielders in the best teams across the world. De Bruyne for Man City, Thiago for Liverpool. You look at Bayern Munich. Who's their ball player? I can't even remember this.
Kimmich right now.
Yeah, right. You look at other teams, right? They all have that player. Is Bentancur as good as them? Can he drop into the pockets of space and play the passes they play? Maybe not as expansive, or maybe not at that level. Maybe you could look at improving in that sort of area. I'm not going to disagree with that. I agree with that. But you can keep upgrading the midfield all you want. If they can't get the ball from that back line, what is the point? You can have a world-class midfielder in there. If you cannot progress the ball from the back line, there's no point. It's the same as bringing in a cam. If you cannot get the ball from the back line into the midfield to progress it onto the cam, to get Kane, Son, Richarlison running off him, there's no point in having them. It all starts with the back line. People don't want to talk about how important it is to have a ball-playing centre-back in modern-day football. All top managers, the first priority, whenever they want to play a system and they go to a new club, have I got a world-class ball-playing defender to be able to play out from the back? Because your only other option is play a long ball and hope that your midfielders can push up and win the second ball. That's the way West Ham play. And I'm not doing that. In order for us to be able to play out from the back, it starts with your defenders on the ball technical wise. And I don't make this up. Watch the All or Nothing. Arteta says it. Episode 8, probably about 32 minutes in. Check it out. It's there. It's evident.
Yeah. But, to be fair, to Bottom Duda, I think, he knows the Conte systems really well. And, he wants them.
Yeah, he's all over it.
He's an expert on the Conte systems. And so you have to take, any point that he makes, with real consideration. Because this guy, I think, I'll be honest, Dave, I'm going to hold my hand up. He knows, Conte more in and out than I do. Bottom Duda does. So big up, brother. Really appreciate you. But keep moving on. We're going to keep pressing on, and we're going to go on to a channel debut late in the evening, and I'm loving it. Hopefully, we're going to have a good one. We always do, with the debuts. They're always good. But Ryan is going to be a new one. Everybody in the chat, show Ryan some support. Everybody, show him some love.
Come on, get some nice things in the chat. Big up, everybody. Ryan, how are you keeping, brother? It's good to see you.
I just want to say a couple of things quickly before we actually start. Congratulations, Eddie, for being a year old on their channel. So yes. Congratulations to you lot. And Jack and Dave, big you two up for a great show, as always.
Appreciate you, my man.
I appreciate that. Look, I'm well aware I could go on and on and on, and I'm like a dog things, but I will not rest until people see it my way. That's the way I am.
But
Brian, what do you have to say, my man? Where do you want to start?
Well, first of all, starting on the transfers, if that's cool.
Sure, yeah, let's take it away.
Now, getting another defender in would be probably a really good start before the end of the window. I'd say if we can get a defender within the next 2 or 3 days, I'd say, if we could. But we never know with the Don, do we?
No, that we don't. I mean, we're looking at a centre midfielder. The next thing you know, we could end up getting a goalkeeper, and you just don't know.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think if we can upgrade, definitely, I think if we're going to upgrade anybody, I think we have to upgrade Moon Boots for starters.
Yeah,
definitely. Because
why do you think that is right?
Just watching how he it worries me. Even though we got the win, right, and I'm happy about that, but I was worried that he would just lose the ball literally left, right, and centre. And that's the thing that worried me the most. And it's shocking the way. I mean, not just that, right? Remember when I sent that super chat into you, Dave, not long ago, where I said we would win the league?
Yeah.
I still stand by that. And the only reason why I still stand by that is because when I saw Liverpool lose Mane, I thought, boom, there's half a chance.
Yeah.
And then Man City getting not off to the best of starts to this season. Look, drawing yesterday with Newcastle 3-3. They're not as strong as they used to be. But I would say, if we're going to get any defender in, I would take John Stones. Because he's a definite upgrade, I think.
He's not bad on the ball, John Stones. Maybe, he's actually kind of even the reason Man City and Pep Guardiola got him in the first place from Everton, I think, was because he was good on the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but then who would you rather prefer in if you could get an immediate centre back in now of any from anywhere? Who would you go for?
Jack, you can go first.
I've kind of had my sights set on that Evan Ndika guy a long time, Ryan. But if I were to be, that guy from Frankfurt, but if I was going to be realistic, and probably think about, the targets Spurs have been looking at, I actually went and, decided to watch 90 minutes of, that Ukrainian guy, Zabarny. I really liked him. Yeah. He's actually really good on the ball.
Yeah.
For me, I think if you got Jasko Gvardiol, I think he could play in the centre, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, but not this season. Yeah.
No, look, but he did say, Jack, I have the pick of the whole world. It doesn't have to be realistic. For me,
maybe it
look,
does.
look, right now, I think Joachim Anderson wouldn't be a bad buy, I'll be honest. I think he's good in the air. I think he's good with his feet as well. He plays some lovely passes over top for Crystal Palace. I think he wouldn't be a bad buy until our number one target becomes available. Look, I think the ultimate would probably be someone like Skriniar or something like that. But you can't get him.
That was last year. But I think he's getting a bit old now, though, Dave.
Yeah, he's 20. He's 28, but I mean, so is Dyer, at the end of the day, and he's achieved a lot more in his career than what Eric Dyer has.
Well, yeah. But I just think if we want a quick solution, right, to get another quick centre back in, I think Stones would be the best option for now, just for 1 year, and then we can go out and get our top targets next year.
Yeah. Look, Stones is good on the ball. I still have reservations over him, maybe a little bit defensively, but he is good on the ball, and that's why Pep Guardiola, like Jack alluded to, brought him into Man City in the first place. He needed a homegrown player, and surprise, they didn't pick Eric Dyer to come in and play that role, ball-playing defender, homegrown English player. They went and got John Stones from Everton.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Talking about the Champions League regulations, we also do need that English criteria up, and I think John Stones would just help with the criteria as well. So you got to balance it out as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. Look, I'll be honest. Like when it comes to the homegrown criteria and stuff like that, look, I never get too concerned or worked up over it because the club have never failed it before and they'll never fail it ever. The club will always have a solution, and they'll always make sure they make it. Like at the end of the day, you can register, I think it's 20, 25 players, but you can always leave yourself 2 or 3 players short and still make the registration. You know what I mean? You don't have to register a full 25-man squad,
Yeah, like I remember when we used to have quite a load of English players in our team back in 2003, wasn't it? 2004 season where we just, or was it? It was when Ledley King was playing.
Oh, Ledley King, Dawson, Woodgate, Jermaine Genius. There was. That's
where we had mostly a bulk of English players, and they weren't up to scratch, but I mean, people say
that team went on to win a trophy under Juande Ramos, bet Chelsea in the final.
Yeah. And funny enough, going on to West Ham as well, right? I've got a mate who's a West Ham fan, right? Can't believe it, right? I'm taking the mick out of him like it's going out of fashion just because of where they are, right? And I said to him, today when I was speaking to him, I turned around and I said to him, well, you know what, right? When we play you in midweek, I said it's going to be a 5-0 battering.
Yeah, look, Do you know what? I'm not sure about a 5-0. I think, look, it's a London derby. I do think they'll turn up. But for me, I think they have too much going for it to beat them, if I'm being honest. And we also have to remember, the last couple of seasons, they've been the better team in a lot of them games. Bar the one I watched at the home, me and Jack watched at the home stadium last year. Before that, they've been the better team in them games. Under Nuno, they were a better team against us. Under Jose Mourinho, they pumped us. We were 3 down by half time. You know, so over the last few years, they have actually been better than us in a London derby.
Yeah, they have. But I just think this year is just totally different. Do you know what? Right, talking about the formation as well, going into that game, finally, and I would go for a 4-2-4. And the only reason why I would say that is to have Richarlison and Kane up front, because that's where we seem to get a lot of the joy at the moment when we switch into that 4-2-4.
I hear you. And don't get me wrong, I would love to go to a back four. But do we remember how awful the back four was under Nuno? How it was under Jose Mourinho? With the same personnel that we have to select from currently. The reason why, look, Conte was always coming to play at 5 at the back. But the reason why the board were looking for someone like that is because they know that back line is not great. It saves them having to put into that back line. I get it. People are frustrated with the formation. But let's not revert to a formation that got us from Champions League finalists down to Europa Conference League because the defenders in the back four could not have it. You have to remember, there's one less body there, so they're even less protected than what they are now.
Yeah, but then the other thing is going into the game over the weekend, I just hope we don't. I know this is going to sound a bit weird, and you can take it as you like, but I just hope our defence do not go walking through a forest.
Yeah.
Say that again. I think you froze there. I didn't hear that, my man.
All right, yeah. No, I said basically over the weekend, with our game over the weekend, I said I hope this isn't going to be a pun, but I just hope our defenders do not walk into a forest.
Hopefully not. What do you think, in the case, of Forest and that they have a similar back 5, back 3, right, Ryan? We have been coming up against back 3s and back 5s, and we sort of struggled.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. I think if we're going to go with a back 3, right, in the game over the weekend, I think we should go with the 5 in midfield.
Yeah, so go for that 3-5-2 this time around instead
of
and
then have Kane up front, and then have Sonny out on the left, and then with Basuma, Højbjerg, and who else could we put in there? Well, I would have said Skip. Problem is, Skip's still injured, isn't he? So
yeah, it's got to be Bentancur. And this is a thing as well. Do you see Conte putting 3 in midfield? Because what if he gets an injury? He's straight away got to revert back to the 2 in midfield, but also has no one to come off the bench until Skip is fully fit. So do you really see him using all 3 of his options, knowing he can't even change it from the bench inside midfield because the options aren't there?
Well, that's the risk that you've got to take, I think, personally. And if you really want to get the 3 points, like I really want to see us get 3 points,
take risks.
You got to take the risk. You've got to take the risk. And at least if we take the risk and we come out of it scot-free, we can say, okay, cool. Yeah. Right, we've got out scot-free, and then we're okay. And then we can just revert back into the formation afterwards. Or, to go even better, start off until in a back 3 with 5 in the midfield. If, for some reason, someone gets tired, then we go switch into the other formation when we're winning like 3-4-0. Because that's the way I see it going.
Yeah, look, I envisage a 3-4-0 this weekend as well, if I'm being brutally honest. I really do. I look, at the end of the day, we're Tottenham Hotspur. We have aspirations of winning a league, winning a cup, and competing in the Champions League. We should not be beaten by Nottingham Forest at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They're easy 3 points you should be putting on the board. In fact, it's an easy 6 points you should be putting on the board every single season. Yeah.
And do you know what? Looking at the situation we're in at the moment, if we can keep this form going all the way through the season, I know it's impossible to. Even under Conte, it's impossible. But if we, in this fantasy world, if we was to go through the whole season like this, I could see us win the Premier League, the Champions League, the FA Cup, and the League Cup. That would be a dream come true.
Come on, Ryan. That would be more than one dream. Come on. That would be 3 dreams come true. Come on. You want the treble? Is that the one dream, the treble?
Oh, no. The whole lot. I want the clean sweep and then playing the World Cup in the club.
Yeah,
So many
that would
creams,
be
I love
nice.
it.
That'd be a right clean sweep right across the board. But Ryan, my man, is there anything else you want to say before we let you go, brother? You've been good energy. You've been good energy.
Yeah, talking about the Champions League quickly, just before I go. I actually hope we get I know this is going to be sounding very controversial, but I hope we get Bayern Munich in the group stages.
You want a tough group. You're the guy that wants a tough group.
We've got to play them at some point, haven't we? If we're going to win the Champions League, we've got to play them at some point.
Well, unless one of the other teams can knock them out for us, that'd be nice.
Knock them out for us. True. But, I'm kind of with you, Ryan, and, again, just quickly, some Spurs fans, they want a tougher group than they want an easier group, for the Champions League. Because it kind of tests you, maybe, toughens your skin up, and it gives you a bit more kind of, graft in that Champions League. It's not a bad theory.
Yeah, personally, that's why I think we should have Bayern Munich in our group. And then I know it's going to be controversial, but I just think if we have the tough group and we can get out of that group, it'll be an easy run to the final. Then, especially if we can help along the way to take Bayern Munich out out of group stages.
Look, leave the better teams until towards the end of the competition. Give me an easy run and get me there. On our day, we would beat absolutely anybody. I just want to avoid Bayern, and they absolutely embarrassed us at home that season. So I want to avoid them for a little bit longer because they are a good footballing team. But Ryan, I want to see you again on Friday, brother.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. I'll come on Friday. That's perfectly fine with me, bro.
Good man. Well, Ryan, give me a big come on, you Spurs, before we let you go. Show me that passion.
Come on, you Spurs!
Absolutely love it. Absolutely. Ryan, I need you to come on in the pre-match build-up just to do that.
Exactly, Dave. Exactly. Took the words out of my mouth.
Just give me the time and the day and I'll be there.
I love it. Love it. Right, Ryan, we'll let you go and we'll see you soon, buddy.
Big up to everybody and thank you for having me on, guys. And then just one more thing quickly, just before I go. Congratulations to Dermot and everyone and Ellie for the year's celebration. And I hope you guys all have a good one. Guys, I will catch up with you guys later. Thanks for having me on. Peace.
Big up, Brian. What a call. What a call, everybody. Everybody show him some love. Show him some love. Dave, it's not easy to come in there with that sort of energy. You got to love that from Brian,
No,
well
it's
done.
really
And,
not.
I liked what he had to say. I think, he kind of ran the show, got to say what he wanted to say.
I love that. Sometimes it makes life a bit easier, especially when you're 2 hours and 50 minutes in. You can just let him say what he wants to have to say.
Exactly.
It's a bit easier, but I love that. First appearance, it's not easy to do, just coming on and have so many times.
Not easy to run the show on your first try. Not easy to, take over like that.
You're a legend.
Well done, Ryan. Everybody,
you're a legend, my man. But look, we're going to get the last guest on. I'm just going to turn off my camera quickly because I need to stand up. I am cramping up, but I am still here. Dan, how are you keeping, my man?
I'm doing good. How have you guys been?
It's good. It's good to see you, Dan, and it's been a crazy weekend, of good results, for Spurs, as well as, us grabbing 3 points while, our big rivals haven't. What do you want to talk about, tonight?
Man, I'm excited for the Champions League draw, man.
Yeah. What are your thoughts maybe on what Ryan was just saying? You want Bayern Munich, in our group, how do you feel about that?
No.
Anybody else but Bayern?
I don't want Bayern Munich in our group. No. I'm one of the more realistic ones. We're not going. I mean, Bayern Munich, they're super strong. They get these. I've always said with Bayern Munich is the reason they're never gonna have this like Man United thing where they fall out of grace because they play in. I don't want to. I hate using this term, but a farmers league, and they win the league every year. They get great they get financial money every year from winning the league. They can sign phenomenal players. They rebuild. It's like they've got a successful business and a stable business going. So I don't see Bayern Munich ever falling that. So I'm really don't like Bayern Munich. I'm not sure if I want Bayern Munich in my group. Someone I'd like in my group would be Real Madrid, and that might be a little bit controversial. The champions, But Real Madrid have a history of starting off their group stage.
Yeah,
this
that's
group
really
stage
true.
finishing
That's
really,
really true.
badly.
They often struggle in the group stages
Yeah.
and
But
barely
you know,
make it out.
yeah, but something I'd be really, really intrigued to see is what group Arsenal get in.
We're gonna still be waiting after Thursday. Yeah, we're gonna still be waiting. But Ryan is in that boat where he wanted a tough challenge, like Bayern, and there are some Spurs fans that want the toughest group possible because they might think that will prepare us for the knockout rounds in the Champions League. Are you maybe in that boat, or are you in the opposite boat where you want the easiest group possible?
Well, I'm one of those where, like, in terms of if you tell me which team you'd rather beat, obviously I'd pick the tougher teams. But I think if we saw that road to the Champions League final, let's be completely honest with ourselves, it could have not gone better. The teams we got grouped with and all of that, and we made it so far, we made it so close. And I think if we're gonna win the Champions League this season, I don't think we've got the quality to take out the big teams first. I think we're gonna have to get the small teams, get a little bit lucky, and that's part of football. Luck is part of football, and that luck hopefully gets in our favor. I'm not sure we're ready to win the Champions League yet. I'd love to dream, I really do, but the Champions League is a little bit out of our reach.
I agree. I think, look, it's going to be very, very tough for us to win the Champions League. I think domestically, I think we're capable of doing it. With the World Cup thrown in there, I reckon it's going to be a crazy season, and you're going to see some teams qualify for Europe that probably should never be there. You might even see a surprise league winner this year, and it just might be us. But Champions League is a long stretch. We all know Real Madrid come knockouts, they'll turn up. If they could beat City, they could beat us. Bayern Munich slapped us before at home, absolutely embarrassed us. So I may add, I think we actually had a better backline then as well. When they embarrassed us. So for me, look, I would like to get a nice run. I think it's going to be hard. Plus, the bottom do it if you're still out there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just put it in the comments. Conte doesn't have a great record in the Champions League.
Yeah, an interesting question, Dave. But I've been wondering about this. Would you rather us stay in the Champions League, get eliminated in the quarterfinals, or place third in the group and win the Europa League?
No, look, I'd rather get out of the group and get into the knockouts. I hate the Europa League. Don't get me wrong, when I'm in the Europa League or Conference League, I want to win it. At the end of the day, every competition you're in, you should never turn your nose up at a trophy. But for me, I would much rather stay in the Champions League, if I'm being honest. There's a big difference watching Tottenham, say, versus Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Juventus, AC Milan, Inter Milan, or anything else, than Tottenham playing Astana from fucking Kazakhstan.
The other thing, too, with the Europa League is that I think the Europa League is proving more and more and more with, like, the better teams that kind of are falling into it nowadays. It sort of feels like, you can, find yourself in a tricky, kind of a tricky situation, in the Europa League where maybe you're not playing, like David said, the Bayern Munichs, but whatever team you come up with might be like a Rangers or someone, or an Eintracht Frankfurt, and they might be like kind of a tough, sort of test, and I don't really want to deal with those sort of tricky kind of opponents that you don't know too much about. You don't really know how they play, etc. It's like the Europa League is slippery, if you know what I mean.
And what I will say is I'd much rather go out to Bayern Munich or Real Madrid than get knocked out to a Dynamo Zagreb, lose to an NS Mora, barely beat or lose to Rennes. You know what I mean? Teams like that. I'd much rather lose to a big team and say, look, they're just better than us, rather than lose to a team that we really should be beating. Yeah. I can't have any more of them embarrassing names on the loss sheets. I really
can't. Giving me a lot of PTSD there, David.
That's why I want to avoid them competitions, because we have to remember, right? Them teams, when they see Tottenham Hotspur coming in the Europa Conference League or in the Champions League, that's their cup final. They're always going to turn it on for us because we're the big fish to fry. They know if they scalp us, a lot of their players will probably end up getting moves and stuff like that, a bit like what happened with Dynamo Zagreb. So it's more every single game, whether you play a backup team or full strength team, you have to be on it because everyone's waiting to fry the big fish. Whereas in the Champions League, potentially someone like a Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, it's never going to happen, but potentially they might look over you and you might actually be able to put it up to them. But when them smaller teams, we're the big fish to fry and everyone wants to fry us.
Yeah, and with Spurs, we're like that. We have that weird mentality where we'd rather go into games as underdogs than be like mild
Yeah.
favorites to win the game.
I agree. I just loved having that underdog feeling, everyone together, the camaraderie, doing the unexpected. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
it feels
love
better
it.
that way.
It's
It does feel
our
better that
history.
way instead of having the pressure and and all that sort of expectations like the Europa League. Yeah, I agree with you, Dave. Less of a headache, for sure.
It's our history.
Well, it's about to change, Daniel. It's about to change.
Yeah.
Daniel, what else you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about that Wolves game? Do you want to just move on? Talk about Forest?
Man.
Where do you want to go from here?
That Wolves game, I predicted that first half. I completely predicted that first half. We're going to get overrun in the midfield because it happened last time. Last time. We go with 2 in the middle. Wolves do these things that they always do against us. I've got huge respect for Bruno Lage. Fantastic manager. He always puts one more player in the middle than us. And he completely dominates the middle. Second half, we fixed that a bit. Not sure what Conte did. But we should have gone into that game with 3 in the middle. We're lucky we didn't concede in that first half.
Do you think then, Daniel, teams that maybe will keep more possession with us, we have to adapt and either take one of Kane or one of Kulu or Son out and play with 3 in midfield and 2 up top? And then, we're okay with the formation against maybe some of the lesser teams. But in the big games where we're going to be outpassed, outmaneuvered, outworked, go with a 3 in midfield?
100%. And especially with teams like we've already seen it before. I predicted Conte to go 3 in the middle. Mainly just of hope. But also in the press conference, he was talking about how the last time he played Wolves, he saw what went wrong and he's going to fix it. And what went wrong was that we got overrun in the middle. So I thought he was going to address that. He didn't, which surprised me. But yeah, definitely, we don't want to become one of those teams that just can play one system. We want to be a team that could, if we're faced with a defensive team, we could play attacking. If we're faced with an attacking team, we could counterattack, which is obviously we know that we can do. But we want to be flexible and we want to be able to play against every single team and smash them. And that's what Conte is going to do for us.
I agree. What I will say is he is slowly starting to work on it. You look at Chelsea, he changed the game tactically, went 4 at the back. We basically went to a 4-2-4, got more bodies up forward. So Conte, we now know, is capable of it. We know the squad is capable of it, like proven against Chelsea. Now it's just how often does Conte want to keep doing that? Because if we're being honest, it's not ideal to keep changing your formation. You look at Liverpool, you look at City, they play it one way every single week. And they're that good at it. It's up to the opposition to change the way they play against them. And they never, ever change. And ideally, that's the way we want to get. Because under Pochettino, very rarely changed our formation. In fact, you could probably predict the same 11 every week in the same formation.
Well, I'd kind of disagree because look at Liverpool right now. They play against teams like Crystal Palace. They can't do anything about it.
Yeah, but Daniel, they've got 9 first-team players out injured. They played 2 kids out there tonight.
I get that on all, but this happens time and time again with them. Look, I'd like to say Real Madrid, best team in the world right now. They can play defensive and they can play attackingly.
Yeah, look, I definitely agree with that. I mean, people write off Real Madrid, but one thing Real Madrid know how to do is they have the mentality and they're able to sit in and defend games. But they're also well able to try, when they do get the ball, they're well able to use it. Sometimes it takes Real Madrid 2-3 passes and they're in on your back line. It's unbelievable. Yeah. I agree with you there.
Yeah, but I'm just, I don't know. These first 3 games, another thing I wanted to talk about, Sonny.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on his form?
I don't know who that fraud is on the pitch, but it's not Son.
You not think
he'll turn it around, though. He'll turn it around, right, Dan? He can turn it around. He's a world-class player.
It's not Son. It's not. I love Sonny. I'm the first one to say I'm the most delusional guy for Sonny. I'll say best player in the world, Ballon d'Or contender, but it's got to start looking at something here. But I don't think it's time to start talking about starting Richarlison.
I agree.
A little bit of time, more of these performances, a lot more of these performances, and then Richarlison will be starting. But with Son, it's more of that, we saw this last season. He goes through these patches of form where you're scratching your head, what's going on? I remember when we went out in the FA Cup, from then on he had 6 games that were terrible. So I think we're going to have to be a little bit patient with Sonny. It's disappointing what we're seeing. I think it's really disappointing what we're seeing here with stuff from Sonny, but we've seen it time and time again. Most seasons he usually has that one bit of form where he's just like, what's going on with Sonny? I think that will go away with patience and
spot on, Dave. I think Dan is spot on here.
Spot on. I think you also have to take into account he's never really performed well against Chelsea ever. He was woeful against Wolves last season when we played them. In both games, may I add, even the start under Nuno, it was Kane that came off the bench and won that game. He was woeful against, I wouldn't say woeful, but, he wasn't, he actually usually does play well against Southampton. But, if you look at it, the last two games, he didn't really play well against them last season. Against Forest, he'll explode. West Ham, he'll play well. I'm convinced. I said this earlier, Daniel. You don't drop world-class players. You play them through it. It's that simple.
Yeah. The mentality thing is a thing with it too, but I think there's some players where you take them off and it fires a spark in them. There's other players that you just got to look at the player. I think Sonny's the type of player where you got to keep on the team. You got to support him. You got to say, hey, Sonny, I understand you're going through this patch of form. We want to let you know that we completely back you and everything you need from us. We've got it here because we know you're a phenomenal player and you could take us levels. And when we need you, you're always there for us. And we're going to be here for you now. That's what we need to do.
Beautifully said.
Shoulders.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said, actually. And in fact, that even made me think, Daniel, with how well you put that, sort of similar treatment to what we did to Harry Kane. Even though the fans weren't really very kind, I would say, to Harry Kane, the team sort of was, at least the manager was like, we're just going to support Harry Kane here. We're going to call him the best striker in the world. We're going to continue to remind him he is going to get out of this patch of form that he's in. And he did. And I think we, like you just beautifully put, similar treatment, I think, is probably going to need, is going to be needed, for Sonny. Treat him like the world-class player that he is. Remind him, he is a world-class player. And I'm sure, he'll come back into it. And,
I said this
beautifully put.
Said this about Harry Kane at the time. Kane will still finish the club's top scorer this season. And he did. Yeah, Son got more Premier League goals and won the Golden Boot. But Kane finished the club's top scorer across all competitions. And Sonny's still going to finish the club's second top scorer across all competitions this season. It just happens. It's just natural. It always happens. I'm not worried about Sonny's form whatsoever.
Yeah. The thing with Harry Kane and the fans was had to do mainly with what he did.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That was.
But I hope we just don't burn Sonny though, because we were pretty mean, I think, and pretty ruthless to Harry Kane, and regardless of maybe it being a different situation, regardless of that, and I'm starting to see. I don't know what I think, Dan, you might agree with me. I'm seeing creepings of kind of similar sort of kind of attitude that Kane received. I think Son is starting to receive sort of kind of similar kind of treatment. And I just hope maybe we learn our lesson, or I hope we did learn our lesson.
The thing is, though, we are a very reactionary fan base. A loose touch, and you're already seeing on Twitter, Sonny gets dropped for Richarlison. It's crazy. It's honestly crazy. We need to start being a little bit more patient. This season is not a marathon. I mean, it's not a race. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So we got to be more patient with our players. We can't just explode as soon as something happens. You know the amount of times that we lose a game, right? And I just go on Twitter and I just keep seeing Conte out. I'm like, what? Like, we're so reactionary sometimes. We're actually extremely reactionary sometimes. And sometimes we just need to calm down and look at the big picture.
Man,
you've been very wise tonight, Dan. You've been very wise.
I've been saying this for the last year and a half to, as well, especially the last 6 months, especially since January transfer window. You've got to look at the bigger picture. And since I've said that, I've been called delusional. I've been called every name under the sun. But sometimes you have to take a step back and look at the bigger picture and take yourself out from the here and now. But Daniel, tell people what's coming up on the channel, brother.
Great.
Yeah, we are actually having a lot of changes coming to the channel. New logo, new thumbnail, new equipment, everything. So it's gonna get a lot better as well. We're less than 15 subscribers away from 700.
Wow.
So if we do smash that, I'd really, really appreciate it. But big up to both of you for having me on. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Oh, and by the way, for the Chelsea game, I forgot to tell you this because last time I didn't come on. But I was in a pub and this fan recognized me from being on your channel.
No.
And I was gonna tell you this, but I forgot to.
That's
Yeah.
mad. You're famous, my man. You're famous.
He remembers your Colin, Dan. He remembered your Colin. And I must say, you had a really good one today. This one was
Yeah,
very
really good
memorable. In fact, this one was very memorable. I thought you absolutely smashed it. I thought you had a lot of really good things to say.
You speak well beyond your years, my man. You speak well
Exactly.
beyond your years. Your parents should be
Exactly.
proud.
Well said, Dave.
Appreciate it. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. See you soon. What a send-off. Big up, Daniel. Everybody show that man some love. Show that man some support. And the link is in there in the chat to get him above 700. Like he just said, everybody, get him above 700. Great Colin. And for the last Colin as well, Dave. Thought he absolutely smashed it. Well done, Dan.
No, he smashed it. Absolutely smashed it. Big up, Dan. Absolute top man. Wise head on young shoulders. And everybody get over there and give the guy some support. And it was good to see him back.
And absolutely. To bottom Duda saying every time Conte went to a 2 up front, he played Richarlison with Kane, which makes sense. So Kulu plays as a right wing back or a right mid, and Perisic can then play as a left wing back / a left mid. Son doesn't work in a 3-5-2, in my opinion. Hence the 3-4-2-1, in my opinion, for Son to be able to fit in better. Interesting theory. I feel like Sonny does sort of fit the 3-5-2 as a second striker, but just to give a bit of love to Richarlison today, like to bottom Duda is, here in this super chat, he is showing a bit of love to Richie. I think Richie to bottom Duda has looked really good coming on. Like every time he's come on, it's almost like, getting like, a rev engine, going, because all he does is just sprint and press until, the final whistle blows. He isn't leaving any bit of energy on the pitch. It's almost like he's trying to get all of his sprints in, and try to get all those numbers up, right away. The man is an absolute nuisance. And when you think about the dynamic of Kane and Richarlison up top, to be fair to the bottom Duda, and because I've really liked Richie, when he's come on, Richarlison brings you that pressing, it brings you that relentless shithousery and energy. And then you have, Harry Kane's world-class ability to be able to pass from deep, world-class ability to be able to spray from in behind, kind of just combines really well, with the likes of Richie. And Richie, I thought, was bringing really good energy every time that he's come on. And I think he is going to get his goal soon to bottom Duda when he gets the chance. He was just an absolute legend for us against Wolves. There's so many times when he wasted 5-6 minutes by just being able to just get us up the pitch, by just being able to take on, his players, by just, causing havoc. And I really was impressed with Richie. I thought he looked great against Wolves, but and maybe could be, an interesting formation. And he's absolutely right, Dave. Every single time Richarlison comes onto the pitch, we go to a 3-5-2. We don't stick with the same thing. Richie is a second striker alongside Kane, and he's absolutely right. And I'm not surprised to bottom Duda spotted this because, he is a Conte expert, but it's a good call out, Dave. We're not sticking with the same system when Richarlison comes on, he is coming on as a second striker alongside Kane.
You look at both games Richarlison has played against Chelsea, made a difference through his running, his work rate, etc., helped get us up the pitch. We end up getting out there with a draw. You look at Richarlison coming on against Wolves, 1-0 up, Jack, and all he done was take the ball, run with it, and take the pressure off us. It relieved the pressure. His energy coming on, his willingness to run with the ball into the corners, into the channels, and everything else, late in the game, completely relieved the pressure on us, on the back line, on the midfield. And look, it's only a matter of time before this guy scores. I really believe it. Look, the 3-4-2-1 formation, I'm not sure it solves the midfield problem because you're still asking your cam or your two cams to sort of play a bit higher. You're still going to leave yourself with 2 centre midfields in the midfield. So I'm not sure it actually really alleviates what people's problem are with the formation now, whereas I can actually see it with a 3-5-2.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And to bottom Duda, with maybe Kulusevski, just that last little point that he made there with Kulusevski as a right mid, with how wide Kulusevski even plays for Spurs and how good he is in those wide positions, you could get away with, maybe that extra midfield grit. And then you have a bit more creativity out wide. And then you sort of take that risk of, instead of Emerson, you're like, you know what? I have an extra midfielder. I have Romero. I'm going to take the risk, maybe not be as defensively solid and then gain the ability of having someone so much more creative, especially from those wide areas. I mean, Kulusevski is so dangerous with that delivery from that wide area. And I do like an inverted fullback to bottom dude. I do like an inverted fullback. So I'd be into it. Big up, brother. Great comment. And honestly, Richie, the whole time I was watching that game, I just kept saying, go on, Richie. Yes, Richie. Please, Richie. He was just saving us so many times with that to bottom dude. Great.
Yeah. Big up the bottom dude. I really appreciate the support tonight as well, brother. Top man. But look, I believe that's it. I believe that the deck is clear with guests. What I want to say to you, Night Owls, if you want more content to watch, check out Jack's little show earlier on Lucas Moura. Check out the evening headlines I've done as well. If you want transfer news, one's 45 minutes, one's about, 8 minutes, if even 3 minutes, I think. So get over, check them out if you want more content. And plus, what you need to look out for tomorrow, 9 a.m., Jack will be giving his thoughts on the whole Gil Messi situation. I will be back at 7 p.m. with myself, Jack, Sim from We Are Tottenham TV, and Sean at 7 p.m. And every Tuesday at 7 p.m., you can look forward to that show. The only difference you'll see is Ben rotating from Sim from time to time. And as well, probably with another evening headlines tomorrow evening as well. Ooh. So, guys, plenty of content coming up.
Stick around.
And we'll have plenty of content every single day this week. You guys want more content. Me and Jack feel like we can deliver more content. So it's a win-win for everybody here. Hope you do enjoy it. And, guys, we'll see you all back here tomorrow. As always, come on, you Spurs. In content trust.
We'll be soon, yeah.